and there's this two-facedness of it. That
What's playing?
Nuts. But over time, when I see it come out.
Oh, Jared.
Check. Do you hear me? That was Jared. What's
Yes,
up?
sir.
We are live.
Nice.
Hello. Live for 15, 20 seconds. To be aware is to be woke. Woke means smart. You can't like baseball and say things like that. Catch me aware.
Well, I really want to be smart, so I'll do that.
I didn't even check my levels. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Y'all too. Well, what is going on? Everybody was missing and sicking last week.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do anything sweet?
I was mostly sick.
No.
A bunch of people randomly got sick. You did Thursday Drunkies or something like that.
That's what it was. I was trying to remember what it was. Why was I? Oh yeah. My friends have been mad at me because I've missed out on the last few Thursday drunks because I was sober during April, but also we do this every Thursday, so
we're keeping you healthy.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. I did a live stream with Guadamax, and we're gonna do a little more with her, I think, coming up maybe next week. What's up? Edge Barbed, Savi D, Before the Crow's Nest. A couple other people are out there already. And then I did Mormon News Roundup. You did Mormon News Roundup before, right, Jer?
Yeah. Me and Morgan did it like a month ago.
What'd you think of that? What'd you think of that experience?
Oh, I mean, it was fun. Like it's different than anything that I'm used to because he's very like structured and rehearsed, and I can have respect for that. That's not how I like do things because he like had a rehearsal and everything, and which hey, good on him, being very organized and stuff.
Yeah, I did the rehearsal beforehand, talked a lot, ran everything by me multiple times, and we ended up running it. I felt like I couldn't talk very well because we were like 6 in the morning or something like that, 7 in the morning here. But he ran into my nephew. He's in the exact same ward that my nephew is serving his mission.
That's awesome.
And it was crazy and weird. And he said, "Where's your nephew serving the mission?" I said, "Right here." And he was like a mile away from where he was in Washington, D.C. And the next day, my nephew was over having dinner with him.
That's funny.
Pretty strange. It was wild. Yeah. Anything else happen?
Oh man.
A lot happened in Mormondom. A lot happened in the news.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I'm just going to round up. We're going to do Mormon News Roundup here tonight. Well, news Roundup.
Yeah, man. I started watching this stream you did with Guadamax on my way home, and I'm trying to get like, God, it's like if Harrison Ford had dementia, I would picture him acting like Jim Bennett.
Yeah. I saw somebody else on Twitter. Actually, she was showing me some clips of what some people said, and some other people said that they think he has dementia or something. But I think he's just a spaz. Is all there is.
No, he's a spaz. I don't think he actually has dementia. I'm just saying, like that. My picture of Harrison Ford in person is just like really fucking grumpy. Like, yeah. Mike Stoklos always talks about it on Red Letter Media. It's just the get off my fucking lawn. That's how I pictured. Jim Bennett is just the most knee-jerk person, and he's weird because he wants to have several different ideological conflicting cakes and eat them too. And it's because he'll shit on whoever's show he was on last week. And then be like, but I love them, and I really want to have a good working relationship with them,
Yeah, as soon as he gets caught out, but he kind of can roll off of knowing that Cardin's not going to watch him very much on RFM. Although I know Brad ended up watching it, but the second he thought Cardin called in, he's like, "Oh, I love Cardin. You look hers," after just like throwing him under the bus 50 times.
He's such a doofus. I shouldn't say that though. I should be pious and take the higher. That was mean of me. I'm sorry, Jim Bennett. I apologize. I want to be more pious like you, Jim Bennett. I want to be nice to people. I'm only ever nice on the internet, like Jim Bennett.
So one of the things coming out in that is that Guadamax and those guys had a little bit more beef or a little bit more to share on Quaku's end of stuff. That Quaku hasn't been Captain Innocent about how he acts on Twitter. Surprise, that was just shocking to me. But a lot of the stuff he was doing, I was kind of mentioning it, is like some of this stuff I feel like because I was a middle child growing up, I can smell through what the whole entire world's doing to each other because I was the one in the back seat where I was getting whacked. We were all getting whacked. And somehow I was getting yelled at for it. But my little brother was pretty good at like crying, oh, you just hit me after he was completely doing that stuff. And Quake's doing that a little bit. And supposedly Cardin's not crazy about us going over that. That's what she says anyway. But whatever, Cardin, I know you don't watch anything. You'll call it boring if it lasts longer than 3 minutes. But we're not trying to. I didn't try to go after those guys or anything. It's just if it comes out that way, it comes out that way. Because if people are acting like turds or internety on the Twitter, it should be noted that they're acting internety and like turds, which is fine until you become the pious loon bag. Jim Bennett isn't the loon bag. Loon bags can meme.
We need to do like a big analysis. We need to make that.
That's what she wants to do. She has all the detail and she wants to do it next week.
No, I mean like a big analysis of that specific comment. How he spent so much goddamn time saying, "No, I said loon bat. It was a loon bat." That's a thing that I say. And I'm like, I don't really fucking care, man.
Why is it
now that you're insisting that it's bat, I want to analyze it. I want to get like a fucking criminal prosecutor to check it out, to slow it down, be like, well, you can see that the curvature of his roof of his mouth clearly is.
Can we hire the lady that did the forensic interview of Rosebud?
As a dude, that was the dude from he was that guy from Infants on Thrones. He was on Infants on Thrones forever.
Interviewer.
Didn't you do an Infants? Yeah, you met those guys. You did a panel with Kate Kelly and the Infants on Thrones. I
hosted a panel. I just emceed it. Yeah.
And so one of those guys is like some Arizona cop or something like that. And he's the one who jumped over on the side of Rosebud to help her do the forensic interview type stuff.
Yeah, and I listened to that whole thing, and it's like, I don't know. I think when people think like you call it forensic interview, that's supposed to mean like, oh, that means that we know it's true.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, we pointed out that moment before, but there's that moment where DeLynn is later interviewing that woman. They had her face blurred and everything. She's that woman who's supposedly been through some sexual stuff. And she starts talking about this guy, Mike from, says his last name. It's the guy from Infants on Throne who's thrown John DeLynn under the bus. She goes, he gets it. He gets what the type of victimhood that happens to women really, really is. And you can just like feel the room pucker up cold and all that stuff. But whatever. We pointed out that moment before. But Guadamax wants to talk more about that stuff. But the reason he cared about bat over bag, and I think he did say bat, but what reason he knows it matters is because the feminists will jump all over him because he didn't know it was a woman at first. After he knew it was a woman, bag sounds worse than bat, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I don't fucking care, but I would love to like make this a fake troll hill to die on. Be like, no, he said bag. I can fucking prove it.
I re-listened to it. I think it's bat, but I also don't care.
We'll dig into like his past and be like, he has a history of being problematic.
He's been. The point is, these guys in those episodes of Midnight Mormons, they were coming down on Guadamax, who's this 20-something Latina girl who could barely talk. They barely let her talk. And half of what she was having to do was answer for the entirety of Desnat, as if she was the one who did all that. And then secondly, just completely jump over the thing that Jim Bennett and Kwaku have also purposefully been shitheads all over those things. And that's fine. I always say it's fine. I said it right to Jim Bennett when he told somebody to suck their mother's balls. We've shown that before.
That's so fucking funny. It's so funny how unhinged he gets so quickly.
And he said that
when we throw snark, it's pretty funny. Like he wants to hurt you and he thinks that'll do it.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, this will show him. He's just throwing shit anywhere that he thinks it'll stick. It's so funny.
But right in that conversation, we brought it up multiple times. Right in that conversation, I said to him, I'm fine. I forgive you, whatever it is. Just as soon as you go start preaching, I'm going to remember. I say it right there. I have it right in the thread. I said, it's fine. Bygones, bygones. I don't care. I think it's funny. I think you guys should defend yourselves. I think everybody should defend themselves, except the moment you suddenly like grab your pearls and just like start rolling over and these guys came after me. And it's apparently kind of what's going on with Kwaku and Desnat is that it's the same thing a little bit. Kwaku's throwing bombs, obviously, and then anything that's said back to him, they'll freak out about. And then, of course, Desnat, like not everybody in Desnat's the same person, and some of them say more unhinged things than others. But they're gonna always go with the worst one, which is how it always goes in any sort of.
Honestly, I think the reason that Jim Bennett defends himself against being internety is because I don't think he's actually being internety. I just think he has a very loose grasp on his own emotions.
And doesn't remember when he flew off the.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think anytime he starts insulting people, it's not because he's internety. It's because he's emotional. And he loses control, and he starts saying things that later embarrass him. So he has to pretend he said something else, or he has to pretend that there was so much context. Right? But when I say something dickish and somebody brings it up, I'll be like, yeah, I'm being a dick, I guess. I don't know. I was being snarky, but that's.
But then he gets to be the arbiter of what's beyond the pale or not.
For sure. But then the other end of the equation is Kwaku, who just seems to say that I swear to God, he just says he believes all of the things he could possibly believe, so that anytime it's convenient, he'd be like, "Well, that was a joke, idiot."
Well, yeah. The thing is, too, is when he's internety, I think it's cool and funny and all that stuff too. Until you're an injured little puppy. That's that's the stuff that just come on, whatever. But that's the stuff that drives me nuts, man. But anyway, that's all the game. Everybody's lobbing bombs, quick to offend and easily offended. That's what everything is.
Say the things that you mean.
Yeah, and don't get that upset if it's tit for tat. I don't get that upset if it's tit for tat.
When Jim Bennett starts yelling about your mother's balls, I laugh because it's a funny comment. I'm also
I said it was funny. What? I said I thought it was hilarious.
It's what the hell is what the hell's going on with this guy? He just immediately.
And not only that, while taking pictures of himself on the choir while he was doing that.
He thought it was a huge.
It was during.
Do you know who I am?
It was during conference. It was during conference. Take a picture from the stand. Then half of what all his stories are, he went and appeared on Steve Pinecker's thing right after this, as they all went and said, "Oh, why can't we just model what proper conversations are?" Shut up! Just shut up! Shut up! He said multiple times when I was sitting back there in the choir and President Nelson said it, I just couldn't help but pipe up and go, "Yes, yes!" Shut up, Jim Bennett. Just shut up.
It's also funny because I'm like, is that really the thing you think Mormons need to hear, Jim Bennett, is to be nicer than they are right now?
Yeah, that panel that Steve had on Mormon book reviews. Good. Fine. I believe Rebecca Biblioteca so far. I haven't seen anything from her. Steve, yeah, I think he can say it. He's doing pretty darn good. Quick was on there. Yeah, he's doing pretty darn good. One of these kids is doing his own thing. One of these kids is way off key. It's you, Jim Bennett. You don't belong on that panel of modeling proper conversations. You're a shithead.
Well, I don't know. Even if you were just to be honest about it, and because I don't know, I like the snark and stuff, but you can turn on.
Me too.
You can turn on the honest conversation. You can be okay. We can have a serious conversation about this where we don't be dicks to each other or whatever. But Jim Bennett it's like he pretends that he doesn't ever do that, and I don't know.
Yeah, he'll mention once or twice, I stand guilty as charged, but what they do is beyond the pale. You don't get to decide. If you're inside the arena, you don't get to decide. He
wants to use all of the instruments that are ever at his disposal, even if they contradict with each other, because he wants to act pious. But then he also wants to talk about your mother's balls. But then he also wants to pretend that, of course, the musket fire speech could be used for violence or whatever, and that was terrible.
They said Hitler didn't. I pointed this out. Hitler did nothing wrong. They said that. Oh my gosh, they said that Hitler did nothing wrong. That is a meme where the internet named Mountain Dew.
I know.
That's what that comes from. That's it's not people going around saying that dead serious.
Well, plus, and when you say Holland did nothing wrong, like, what's the easier thing to do? Prove that he did something wrong, or to link it back to Hitler? Because it should be easier to say that, he did do something wrong, and here's why, than to link it back to Hitler. But we're in such a fucking clown world now that it's actually it's easy as hell to link anything to Hitler.
Yeah.
Somebody once said that about Hitler. That means he's saying Hitler. Hey, hi Hitler.
What's up, Maple Lake Mountain? Yeah, it's all ridiculous. It's all goofy. It's all cheesy, and it would be fun if everybody just was 4channy, and it would be fine if everybody was as actually good as, I would say, Brad from Midnight Mormons. He's, you got him, you got Quick, you got I don't know, but there's like several people who maybe can stand and say, yeah, I've been good. I behaved well,
Yeah.
But it's all just so fucking fake. Like it's like when John Dehlin called the cops. Well, said he called the cops on Kwaku on all the Midnight Mormons for that fucking that Inglorious Bastards meme.
Yeah.
And I remember explaining that to one of my friends who was like, "Oh no, I think he was inciting violence." Or no, you got to understand before we move on. You understand that like that interpretation would go toward your bias, right? That interpretation being uncharitable, that goes toward the thing of these guys are the bad guys and John Dehlin is the good guy. You understand that? And if they can't admit that, at least, then they're beyond saving at that point. But it's so fake. He didn't like. I will commission somebody to make a meme of me getting brutally stabbed to death or some shit like that, and just to like take the high road for a second, man. Be like, oh yeah, they memed on me. Don't do the easy Helen Lovejoy. Oh my goodness, somebody think of the children thing.
Yeah, the meme game is. I don't know, the people who do it better. Like that's why I said Guadamax was doing it better than other people. Then Streeter came out and made the Balenciaga meme, and I'm sure there's some people. I'm not all over the Twitter and all that stuff. I'm sure there's some ex-Mormons who have good meme game or whatnot, but most of it is pious, long-winded left camp meme crap going on. But
Mormons are almost as bad as the left is. Ex-Mormons are just as bad. The Twitter space, Twitter Mormons have some meme game.
You have Guadamax. Guadamax had good memes, but Mormon has got some good meme stuff.
He does, yeah.
And some of those other ones.
That guy's a loon bag.
Really? I don't know what he's really like. All I know about his lean. Oh, you're doing the G-bed.
I have no fucking clue.
I already missed the reference. On my OMG, that's so edgy. Streeter thing was hilarious. And he said Bill Real actually liked that video. I don't know that they totally get the balance.
I don't think they get it.
Streeter threw himself in there for good measure just to make it not look like he was just going after them. But that was pretty hilarious. But my Balenciaga, the baseball went right over their heads. Yep. Anyway, I don't know. That stuff's all goofy. We're gonna meme review. We're gonna go look at more of it from Guadamax when she rounds it all up and just look at it and say, all right, either everybody admit you're internet shitheads, or if it's time to clear up, say, hey, let's clear up now. But one of the things is we know we're South Parkian. If somebody was gonna ever come on here, we wouldn't be like, okay, but if you're gonna come on, we gotta be respectful because it's all respect around here. Be like, no, if you're coming on here, you can run your pie hole however you run your pie hole, if you ever do. But anyway, Bill Real, y'all watch the Bill Real Jacob Hansen conversation?
I watched the first one.
I think I did.
You didn't watch any of it?
This last week's all run together.
You're just staying. You were just so sick. You were just kind of out of it.
Yeah, just taking cough medicine
birthday.
and sleeping.
You still sick?
Yeah, kind of. I took a day off. I mean, I only had a half day today, but I took it off anyway.
It's been lingering that long?
Yeah, like what kind of came back? I don't know how to describe it. Like the cough never went away, and then it's been weird.
Christopher's gonna go meet Bill Real. I first have to give props that he actually did that conversation and showed that it shouldn't be so scary and freaky. I give him major props for finally doing it, because all this stuff shouldn't be so freaky beyond the pale. Because for a while they were trying to say Jacob Hansen was too beyond the pale to talk to.
Yeah,
And,
I also give him props for teaching me that morality is completely subjective and that slavery is also always wrong.
So I was saying this to Jacob afterwards, but that Noah Harari morality and all that stuff, all you have to do is wait about 20 years from now and we'll get to see that it was worse, because they're going to kill a bunch of people. If you listen to James Lindsay's new Western Holodomor going on, and I think you can lay that right at the feet of Harari morality, the stuff that they're doing right now because they think they're saving the world. They're gonna off most of the planet and off most people's abilities to continue to reproduce. I don't know if most of the planet, but I bet you give 20 years, it'll be very, very obvious. You won't even have to argue which morality was better, 90s Mormonism or Noah Harari transhuman sociopathic psycho freak show stuff, where your autistic computer brain thinks you can centrally plan the universe for us and create an AI that runs us all right out of our own existence. Let's see. Troy says, I watched it live. I thought Bill showed pretty good humility and handled himself well. Yeah, I thought Bill did real well.
I'm making fun of his morality thing, but no,
but that's one of the things I always kind of wanted to expose with him, is like I say, every time it's a debate, the Mormons are always the ones on the hot seat. And we've all had 20 years of dissecting what the Mormon belief system is. Like, we know what it is. We've seen that 50 times, Let's dissect that new wave transhumanist, whatever. I mean, what does Mary Harrington call it? She calls it the techno-theocracy or something like that. She had the post of it. Kevin showed it to me right when Sports Illustrated put up Martha Stewart at 81.
What was that?
Martha Stewart at 81 is the cover of Sports Illustrated.
But why?
Because sexy. Let me see if I find it here. It's she called it. Oh, here it is. I'll pull it up. I finished her book. It's a good book. It's very interesting. Cyborg theocracy. That's what she calls it. That's the Noah Harari. What the whole idea is. And one of the things is like Noah Harari just put out like a TED Talk like video this week, which is really just a summary of most of his books. But he's afraid AI is going to be a sociopathic, autistic brain that just views us as algorithms to make numbers go up, and doesn't matter if it kills or addicts us or ruins. But wait a minute, that's just what Silicon Valley brains have been for the past 20 years. It's like your guys' dumb brains were just the same thing. I don't see any difference between you guys and the AI starting to take over and manage us around in the exact same factor. You're just mad that it's not you doing it anymore.
Yeah, they're afraid of losing their power, to quote.
Yeah. Cyborg theocracy. Yeah, so she goes into that in her book, and part of why she calls it that is she makes the case that stuff like the pill is the first cyborgs were women in the pill, because it was the first time you started fucking doing stuff to your body that's healthy to undo a healthy process for your desires. And that's the moment it shifted into cyborg stuff. Like, all those dystopian things of the future of like, what if I can give myself legs that are 10 times faster than the legs that I have now? Well, the first time you jacked with your healthy thing to alter your life was the pill. And she's pointing to this as saying Martha Stewart being everything's so stupid. But
so crazy.
We are in it's I never would have imagined that, like, if you told 15-year-old Jared that like what 30-year-old Jared was going to see was conservatives complaining that Miller Lite was taking bikinis off the menu, and liberals being like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't know. The ad is preachy, the Miller Lite ad, and I don't like it when ads are preachy or political, but I can't really shit on it too much because it's, I don't know. Why do I care if they don't have bikini women on them anymore? It might even be a good thing. I don't know.
Well, I mean, some people, I guess, kept all that memorabilia. That's why they want it turned in so they can memory hole it all. But I don't know of anybody who kept Miller bikini pictures in their basements or anything like that. But I'm sure there's some out there. But I don't know. Did any of you guys?
We had a guy at work who was like, he was like mentally challenged, and he had a Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Like it was basically just nudity on a calendar, and nobody.
Was it nudity or was it bikini?
It was basically nudity. It was bare, like some of them just had pasties over their nipples and thongs, and this is at work at a government facility, and like, but he's like kind of mentally challenged, so like nobody wanted to say anything to him, so they just let him leave it up in his little office.
It's so wild. And one of the things Mary Harrington gets into her book, and she's going to say it way more eloquently than I'm going to dump right here, is just how much all of this new wavy supposed freedom stuff is making us sexless, making us so that we can't even notice the difference between the sexes. And like it's honestly getting worse than Islam ever was. And I mean, that video, and especially what's funny is like somebody pointed out pictures that woman, of course, multiple times in her career took a bunch of bikini pictures. Here's a Harari worried that the AI is going to do exactly what he and Zuckerberg have been doing to us for the past 20 years.
You will own nothing and you will be happy.
The only problem is it wasn't supposed to include me. Yeah, that's my issue with like Bill. It's come up a couple times with Anthony Miller this week. He actually was the one saying, everybody go watch this video and let's discuss it. My problem with their morality is that they kind of just don't see that they're pumping up that weird transhumanism that is both, if all the way possible, like they imagine it possible, is crazy. But then also some of the things they imagine sound impossible and godlike, situations. So it's like it's both like a dash of woo and a dash of crazy, even if you could do it, and then crazy to halfway try. One of my favorite books. Oh, go ahead.
No, well, it just watching the interview or that debate, whatever it did. The best thing that it did for me was just halfway through, I was just like, wait a minute. I don't even really know if I care to talk about this subject anymore. It's kind of the same thing that happened with free will. I mean, because eventually you get so deep into the stupid free will argument that at one point you're like, wait a minute. Everybody acts like they have free will, and there's no way to act like you don't have free will. And the closest you can come to acting like you don't have free will is to become a sociopath, because this one talking about whether morality is objective or subjective is like, wait a minute, this doesn't fucking matter, because everybody acts like morality is objective. We all act like that, and you can't really act otherwise unless you're just killing indiscriminately or something. I don't know how you would act like that, but I was just like, this doesn't matter. Because I tend to agree more with Jacob and say that I think that maybe in order for morality to be objective, there has to be some objective, maybe not dude, but like thing, like a law or something.
Yeah, and Jacob, he said to me before that he doesn't like the term natural law because of course he wants to call it God's law, but plenty of different people throughout history have called it natural law, even at times like C.S. Lewis. So it's like, I think you kind of have to give up that even some people who don't want to call it God's law could go ahead and call it natural law, but there does seem to be some objective. Go ahead.
I moved from thinking that, because I used to think, well, neither of these things are something that you want to convince people, because you don't want a world full of people who are moral subjectivists. You also don't want a world full of people who are hardline determinists. And so I was like, oh, you don't want to convince people of this. But this interview made me think, oh, actually, you can't convince people of this. I don't think it's actually possible to convince a human mind that morality is subjective and that it doesn't have free will.
Yeah, well, then there's this whole other thing that Daniel Dennett goes into, which they're always talking about cause and harm. But here on this video here, Daniel Dennett says, stop telling people they don't have free will. which I know Troy and Forrest got into how he likes to frame it, because he actually believes that there is a free will. You're just kind of, it's the same thing Brett Weinstein says, like you guys are jumping categories. There's definitely free will within a limit, just because you can't escape that you have like a brain pattern and all that sort of stuff. But definitely like within the system and the situation that you're in, there is free will in the situations. And that's Dennett. But he says right here that we also have a bunch of data. You guys love the data that says when you tell people that they don't have free will, they become sociopaths. You know, not just ostensibly or imagining it. They have some data that they show that if they tell people they don't have free will, they become sociopathic, because they can just kind of justify off everything that they do. Which is kind of one of the things that I appreciate Jacob's pointing and badgering at with Bill Real and all that sorts of stuff. And I do think that all these people who start believing that stuff up at those levels of Silicon Valley, where they really can start jacking with our society, that it's bad news. And it's been bad news, some good news, like good things have happened with all the internet stuff. But I think they'll also at some point or another manage to kill more people than died in the world wars. But it won't be as obvious, because it's not going to be like this mechanized war thing. It's going to be more, you know, they'll come up with some sort of a, you know, goofy injection plan we're all supposed to take that's going to screw something up, or something or other. They're going to do the way, if you listen to the Holdomore thing, their plans, like they need to stop all concrete in the world because concrete's dangerous. They need to stop all farming of certain types of animals. They need everybody to get off of meat by 2030.
Yeah.
All this sort of, like,
no more fertilizer.
No more fertilizer. Like
you're going to kill. You can't use fertilizer. No more shipping.
Yeah.
No more shipping.
No more shipping. Like people will die. Like that's not just a few people. You know, it's going to kill way more than Jacob Hansen's morality could ever kill. All we got to do is wait 20 years. He wins. That's what we, at least when we're measuring up those moralities. Rhetorical prophylaxis, functional determinism. Yeah. Anyway, I not that it's going to change the world if we suddenly get Bill Real and Anthony Miller to realize the sociopathy that they're buying into. Like we and Zelf on the Shelf, she sure loves that predeterminism. She can use it as like a thought stopping cliche. That's what I've noticed with her. Like if anywhere she doesn't want to think about something anymore, she goes, whatever, it's all predetermined, and we're just predetermined to be this way. And
she has that perpetual look of somebody like a mom who's like, well, it's wine o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. Yay. What else is going on out there? I had some stuff written down. The Durham Report.
Oh
no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that thing that
nothing. Republicans pounce. That's the headline.
The thing that stupid Republicans think mean anything.
The thing that's so crazy about that is I mean, besides some admittances that the FBI knew that they were lying and that Obama was briefed on it and all that sort of stuff. Beyond that stuff, pretty much everything in that I knew maybe 3-4 months after the Russiagate thing started.
What I was actually thinking about today, it's like, yeah, because like very, very early on, I was very open-minded. I'm like, well, maybe there must be something. I mean, the FBI doesn't just investigate nothing. And then it became clear very quickly, because just the whole thing where they kept saying we have evidence and people kept saying, what is it? And they kept saying, we have it.
Yeah.
And that's literally how that conversation went for 5-6 years now.
Trust the experts.
I can't even believe that all went how it went. And this is something I realized about my life. We'll say it's even true if whatever atheism or whatever I hold to holds up, is that I get no I told you so's in my life. Because the meme at the start that I put on this was that one that I showed you, my parents. And the only two news things my parents care about in this world are church things and Trump bad things. And I guarantee you, if I say, so did you guys read the Durham Report? I text them right now. They'll say, what? The what? The what? The what are you talking about? And I get no told you so. I can't just go like grab their noses and rub it in it like my dog or something like that. Like, look at the Durham Report. I was telling you this all along since forever ago. But
no, there's no COVID sorries.
There's no COVID sorries. There's no. I mean, we can just list off the stories forever.
There's sort of the closest thing we get to a COVID sorry is like, yeah, we both did bad things. Like you guys are kind of dicks to us for wearing masks, and we, threatened your jobs and livelihood and said you shouldn't be allowed to participate in society if you didn't want to get an experimental vaccine that nobody had tried yet. That was for a disease that didn't do anything.
We got you fired.
Dude, we both made mistakes.
The thing that pisses me off extra bad, although it wasn't like I was going to get told you so's anyway, but the Ensign Peak stuff all dropping this week is the perfect thing for all the ex-Mormons to just once again run around with their hair on fire about when I spent 3, 4, 5 years having long, exaggerated arguments with people that there's no evidence for the Trump Russia thing. You guys are over the top crazy about this whole thing, and there's no told you so's. Not that we're even going to come across any of those old people I argued with over it or anything like that, but they all get to just completely avoid it and say, "Whoa, the church has money, turns out." Oh
my God. So I had an argument, and I might have talked about this already, but they were talking about January 6th. And a lot of times I don't really get into the political discussions at work because, I don't know, people don't have interesting opinions. But this guy, the liberal guy at work, is talking about, it's like, I can't rightly support Trump, someone who encouraged January 6th. And I was like, what are you talking about encouraged it? Are you going to say the stupid thing where I just went off on him. I was like, are you going to say the stupid thing where he used the word fight? You don't think there's any context where you can say the word fight where it doesn't mean literally go hurt people? And he's like, no, it's not that. It was, and he said, march peacefully. He said peacefully. He used that word. And he's like, yeah, but I mean, there was like a wink and a nod. There's like, oh, fuck you. Like, where was the wink and the nod? How could he have possibly given that talk? Like, how could he have given that speech in a way that would convince you that, oh, no, he actually didn't want violence? How many times did he have to say in a row, no violence, peace, 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 peace? Like, because I don't think anything would have satisfied you, because you're going on a wink and a nod as a thing to prosecute a bunch of people and make him ineligible for election.
Well, we could do a highlight reel of all the times Elizabeth Warren said, we're going to fight and we're going to go fight this.
But that's what aboutism. That's what aboutism.
It's not what aboutism.
Right.
No, that's what he said. He said, because
that's not what aboutism.
I told him, I was like, okay, but we listen to Maxine Waters, like actually call for action, for violence. To
Chuck Schumer outside
all
of the
these
Supreme
people.
Court.
And like we watched people banging down the door of the Supreme Court when Kavanaugh was sworn in. We saw all this shit that you guys didn't make a big deal about. We heard Russiagate for 4 years until finally it became like the worst thing you could possibly do to our democracy to question an election. And he's like, well, that's whataboutism. I'm like, it's not whataboutism.
It isn't.
I'm
the way they think that's such a trump card. Whoever taught them that is
it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing to happen to lefties since gaslighting.
No, yeah, it's like just like that. It's a logical fallacy to compare like things.
Yeah,
really
or
think that's just how that works.
Right in the context of you saying, do you think the word fight can be used in any other context? Like when this person used the word fight in this context. What aboutism? Like right now, we are currently talking about the context of the word fight. They're so stupid, but I don't know. There's no, you don't ever get the, haha, today they admit they are right. I mean,
I mean, I can even think, I remember my friend that not long, like sometime around 2020, not long after January 6th, like he posted, like, remember, if you vote for the GOP, you're voting for a party that engages in election interference. Yeah. And even then, I got into an argument with them where I'm like, I just Googled like Democratic election interference and just posted a bunch of articles, some of them from left-wing sources, about Democratic election interference, and that was even before, that was just that. Where it's like, so what? But then it turns out this, and part of me wants to go.
This is a coup. This is a damn coup.
This is the Durham Report, and Obama knew. The FBI knew, everybody knew that they made this up. It was obviously an attempt to change the election result. And it's like, and I'm no fan of Trump. I'm no fan of Republicans. It's just the plain facts. But yeah, nobody's going to learn anything from this.
Shit
Nothing's
makes
going to
sense.
change. There will
Learn,
be no start.
This
like
shit
I
makes
said on my meme, my parents won't even hear it. They won't even know.
Yeah, they won't even hear. Yeah, that's right.
This shit makes Richard Nixon seem wholesome by comparison for
it's
at least
worse.
not engaging the entire fucking FBI.
It's worse. It is for sure worse than Watergate. It is for sure worse.
Yeah, because that's the other thing is because I would have thought that maybe it was elements within the FBI, but this thing is basically everybody involved. Just they all knew that it was phony and they just ground it out anyway.
Just kept going. It's I don't know. It's unreal. And if you don't think like that, compared to January 6th, what that did to our democracy and our belief in shared democracy, comparing those couple years to January 6th is not even, not like January 6th was great, but at the same time, you don't get January 6th if they hadn't just sat and allowed all that stuff the previous couple years through the summer of love, and on top of that, the obvious bullshit that they played with Trump all the way through. It's just the perfect example of becoming the monster that you're supposedly fighting, and none of them will ever reflect themselves into that realization. And it'll be like if I go and try to rub their noses in it, it'll just be worse. They'd understand less. They tried to rub their noses in it. But yeah, the ex-Mormons especially, who were freaking out about that for 4 or 5 years, between Trump's town hall, which they got to see, you just could believe this guy again, which I think a lot of that's just aesthetic injury. He
called her a nasty woman.
Yeah, between that and the church has money, they were able to just not even hear peep of any of it, and just
it felt like coming home after a long trip. Trump on CNN. It just, not for me, I'm saying for the CNN anchors that commented on it in outrage afterward. They're like, oh, thank God our network is saved. He's back. Oh my God. Now I have, they're just getting boners talking about how terrible he is.
It's also amazing, Fox fires Tucker and then CNN brings Trump on. Everything's switching around again.
I had a dash of PTSD, and that as soon as that thing was over, that town hall was over, I was like, now I can't look at Twitter for 3 days or something. and I was like, that's what it always was with Trump. The new Trump thing just came out. Oh, great. Twitter's this now for 3. I can't look at anything for 3, 4, 5 days. But then sooner or later you have to look at it, because then you hear so many unhinged lies about a thing. Speaking of more unhinged lies, did you see the stuff about the lady who supposedly stole a bike from 3 young black men? You see that just today?
The pregnant woman one? Is that the
There's a pregnant woman? Yeah, the pregnant woman.
So
there's a pregnant woman.
Watched it yet, no.
Yeah, there's a pregnant woman who she bought an electric vehicle or electric bike, and the video starts where all these it's 3, 4 black guys are trying to take the bike from her, and they're fighting. She starts crying, saying, "Help! Somebody help me!" And they're saying that's like an Emmett Till situation. A white woman crying for help and crying, and she's pregnant. She's coming off her job at work and all that stuff. And then the Young Turks and everybody freak out about it. They're trying to, her stochastic terrorism and get cops called and get these guys killed when they were just fighting over the same bike. And they said that it was her bike. She was stealing the bike from them. They got the bike and she was stealing it from them. Well, it all comes out that she was the one who bought the bike, and those kids were pulling some bullshit on her and trying to steal the bike from her. And
what view do you have to have of the world to where you I don't know, take race out of it. If you got to have a knee-jerk reaction, right? And there's a situation where there's a pregnant woman and 3 teenagers, and the teenagers are fighting over a bike and trying to take it off, and the pregnant woman's saying, "Help, they're taking my bike." Like your knee jerk is probably going to be to go with the pregnant woman. You might be wrong about that.
Used to be. There was a bystander who said, "Okay, guys, we just reset the bike," and then whoever got off the bike, and then of course the black guys were saying, "No, that's our bike," and the woman was like, "Okay." It's like it shouldn't just be obvious who's trying to steal.
King Solomon shit, right? Yeah, cut my baby in half. I don't fucking care.
Exactly. This is something Dave Smith brought up on his podcast today about it. So because we couldn't finish the coup, Russia was like, well, the U.S. is out. What about Ukraine? We'll sell for Ukraine. But one of the points about that all is it wasn't just Trump that was framed in the Russia hoax. Putin was also framed in the Russia hoax. Like the whole entire thing assumed that Putin was meddling just as like, so we got this whole world war. We're on the brink of it all. You don't think that didn't help exacerbate all of it? That in the middle of everything, we got sudden supersonic demonizing of Putin, and now we're in this world war. Like, there's so many downstream things that happen from that that's just unreal. Nobody has any faith in the media or in the alphabet agencies at all anymore. And oh well, just on to the next thing. Oh, the church has lots of money.
I've watched nothing on this. I started watching.
It's not any new info. It's just that it was on. You
I
remember?
watched
You remember all the
minutes thing.
Yeah, I remember that. That's all it is.
It's just that on repeat, 60 minutes covering it in 12 minutes.
Okay.
So it's just a fast repeat of the same stuff.
Yeah, when it happened, I was like, all right. I mean, maybe stop asking poor people for their money now, but whatever. You do your church how you do it. I'm not angry at you for having money. I don't know why I would be mad at that.
So I listened to the RFM and Bill Reel's 2-hour take on it, and then I listened to the Midnight Mormon's 2-hour defense of it. And boy, that was a whole lot of listening for something that I ultimately said, I just don't give a shit. But I was saying earlier, and I think it's true, like, what is the ex-Mormon's goal of them to do with that money? Like, take that money and go spend it until you become the saviors of the world, or go spend it until you become a type of Bill Gates, George Soros meddler in all things. Like one of the worst things that ever happened was when Bill Gates said he was going into philanthropy, when he was quitting business and going into philanthropy. That was one of the worst things that happened to our planet.
Yeah, you were pretty good at business.
Yeah, the business part was good. As soon as you started saying, hey, instead of putting viruses in computers and then selling the software, we can do that to people. Oh, I'll get kicked off of the. But yeah, his philanthropy stuff is a nightmare. Soros, what he thinks is philanthropy, is a nightmare. And I keep hearing all these people say, well, they should be doing good in the world with that money. And that's where I get to the point where I don't know what good is anymore. Like, what is good? I don't know what good means.
So I mentioned it in the chat today. I had been thinking about this lately because when I was really, really, really mad at the church, the maddest I'd ever been, I had this he's very Mormon and really cool dude. He was my manager at Wendy's, right? And I'm like mad. I'm ranting about some shit. I'm talking about the City Creek Mall and how they shouldn't have a mall that, is based on vanity. And I still kind of think like, yeah, I wish you guys were a little more modest about that. Like maybe don't sell things that you don't want your members to use, but whatever. But I was just mad they had all this money that they were using on something so vain like this. And I'm like, there's so much good they could be doing, and they could be curing, I don't know, whatever. They could be ending poverty or some shit like that. And my manager, he's very calm, just talking to me on our downtime, and he's like, well, they already do a lot of good with their money. He's like, yeah, but they also have a mall, and they shouldn't have a mall. And he's like, well, he very calmly asked me a question that was very helpful to me. Did more to quell my ex-Mormon anger than like any amount of reading apologetics ever did. He just said, how many of the world's problems would have to be solved before you would be satisfied with the church owning a business, a for-profit business? And I thought about it for a second, and I didn't say this, but I realized what the answer was they'd have to solve all the problems. That was my answer in my head. And I immediately saw how stupid that was. I was like, oh no, that creates such a stupid world. Nobody, if everybody can't have nice things, nobody can have nice things. You just, instead of, it's like somebody in the starfish metaphor we always talk about, how you're throwing starfish back. It's like, and unless you throw all the starfish, you got to start pulling them back onto the shore and letting them die. And I was like, oh man, I'm really gonna have to think about that. That's a good point. And plus, it's also like it's undoable. Like I didn't want to be satisfied. Like, what answer would satisfy you? And I realized, I actually don't want to be satisfied. I don't want them to be the good guys ever, no matter what they do. I just want them to burn. So I was like, okay, I gotta fucking chill out.
Yeah, well, like I said, we know at the end of the Midnight Mormons podcast that they are just happy that they hoard the money. They like that. They like the idea that they're just the richest Scrooge McDuck church in the world, and they're saving for a rainy day. And of course, RFM and Bill Real always freak out and go, well, COVID wasn't the rainy day, and the housing crisis wasn't the rainy day. And I can look at that and go, no, not what they're thinking of.
Rainy day.
No, they're thinking of like real, actual end of world stuff. But I do think one of the reasons they hoard that money is they've always been shorting the U.S. They're planning on out surviving the U.S. That's one of the reasons they do it. But the Midnight Mormons all love that they're saving it up, and even said, well, I'm going to donate more now, so we're building the kingdom and all that sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
They like it. I also think when I was a kid, I never was walking around thinking that the church was impoverished. Nobody ever told me the church is impoverished, send your money. No, I
assume they were very, very wealthy. I mean, they're building multi-million-dollar temples. Like,
we knew that they were wealthy, and that's not the reason you send money. You send money because of your own blessings or whatever. And but the flip end of that is, if they really did, first off, do what John Larson says and spend all that money once and save the world from hunger, which somebody pointed out, like if you look at the whole entire world, like that's enough for a meal for everybody once.
Who came up with that fucking number?
Yeah.
Every time I say, they always, what is it? They say 44 billion would end world hunger. And they throw that out like it's a statistic that they know about. Like, I don't explain it to me.
It's enough for one meal. It's enough for one meal.
Is that what it is? Is that the calculation?
Is it end world hunger today? No, they said the 150 billion that the church has when they like calculate it out for like all the. Let's see. Let's look up. There's 7 billion.
I was told. I've been told by like about 1,000 lefty dipshits on Twitter that $44 billion would end world hunger.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean forever?
There's 7 billion. 21.
Aren't we up to 8 already?
Are we at 8 billion? It's like 150 billion divided by 8 billion people.
7.88.
That's what we're at.
That's what it says.
They said that looking at all their assets and all that sorts of stuff is like, there's some website that's like spend the church's billions, and it does a breakdown. The thing is like, so I think if they did all that and became the heroes of the world, the ex-Mormons would really be mad. Like, say that it was the church solved what John Larson thought that they could solve. Like, we paid 150 billion and now there's no more hunger in the world. But no, the church isn't true. No. Like, what? They'd be mad about that. But what would actually really happen is if they really got out to spending all that, is it would end up wonky, like how it does when Bill Gates gets up to doing good. It would end up being a meddling bunch of shit that none of us would like. So I think it's probably best that they just keep sitting on that money and save it for when stuff goes belly up. And what you gonna do? But that's just my take on it. I don't give a crap. And my mom had not heard a peep of it. I was there on Mother's Day. We brought it up. He's like, "What's this about? What's all this?" Oh, don't worry about it. That's all it was. Nobody's listened to it here. And I brought it up to another couple believing friends, and they're like, what? No, I didn't hear about that. Like, the Midnight Mormons are right that people don't watch 60 Minutes anymore, and nobody cares if they're really like hard at LDS. Maybe some people who are getting frustrated with it. Should we watch this for a second?
This meme was too good for the ex-Mormon community.
I don't think most of them didn't even get it, but of course,
Yeah.
He was called hard right wing by some people who did kind of get it. One of the guys who watches us, who's making sure that all these right wingers are being caught out, said that John Streeter just watches Fox News to get these memes. This is a Fox News meme here, huh? Vin, whatever. Let's check out this Fox News meme.
I'm always
Fox
super
News isn't
excited when I
smart
can
enough.
interview faithful Mormons.
What was that?
Fox News isn't this funny.
I know. That's the point. I don't know how he did the super. He said it just came out right like that, but the super
He said
comes
he
out.
said he put
I
a
think he
bunch
said
of
spelled
O's.
it as super.
It's so funny.
I'm always super excited when I can
Super.
interview faithful Mormons in my Balenciaga.
The purest form of a faith transition is this. One must deconstruct all that is not Balenciaga. What will remain is all that is Balenciaga.
Jonathan.
All my briefs are made by Balenciaga, even my legal ones.
It's so goofy.
From each according to their abilities, to each according to their need to appreciate the majestic grandeur of Balenciaga.
How did they?
Socialism is
How did AI? How is it so brilliant that it made John Larson look both like a supermodel and still as lumpy as he already is?
Man.
superior.
That which is normative is oppressive. Liberate yourself from.
I wonder if these I'd like to take a poll of random women and gals as if they didn't know any of these guys, and then have them rate them, but these versions of them. Have them rate them like if this really is sexiness coming off, saying these are real guys. These are real guys. What do you think? What do you think of all this?
Categories. There is no one truth except the truth of Balenciaga.
Alan Mount was a good sport about it. Like, he saw it and said it was funny.
Yeah.
As a thinker of thoughts on things and stuff, my thoughts can only be of my Balenciaga.
It even got his like speech pattern correct too.
It's
That
so
I know,
creepy.
that's what's weirding me out. Oh, there's me. Oh, Lordy, how I laughed. I think Mount commented on it. Someone here saying, "Wow, I look great," or something like that. But
Bangers, Britain, Brethren, Balenciaga.
My unrequited love affair with words has endowed me with complete deniable plausibility in my love for Balenciaga.
Okay, here's the plan. We break into the temple and film a Balenciaga commercial. I'm kidding, or am I? No, really. I'm totally not planning on doing exactly that. I don't already have the footage.
Mike Norton is such a funny train wreck to watch.
Oh yeah, he gets wild on the stuff.
It's like watching for years and years the ex-Mormon community try to rein him in enough to keep him around as like a person that they valued until finally they're just like, fuck it, we can't do this.
I have hundreds of images for each of these guys that didn't make the cut. Uh-oh. We need a behind the scenes or a making of like he makes a 4-hour documentary of the making. That'd be hilarious.
Dark night of the soul can be devastating, but Balenciaga will make you look fabulous as your entire worldview and self-conception crumble in a puddle of doubt and nihilistic despair.
That to me is the funniest one. Just because,
might be.
like all this stuff where they go into, I think John DeLynn even recommended a podcast once that was like, "This is our nihilism podcast. This nihilism is the best way to feel good about your future." And I'm not kidding. Like I listened to the whole podcast. It's like, this is a great way to recontextualize how awesome stuff can be. If nothing matters, we could just eat cotton candy all day.
That's hedonism. That's not nihilism. That's everybody I know who's like a really cheerful person and claims to be nihilist. I'm like, you're not. You're a hedonist.
Yeah, you're not.
You're like, I can.
About it hard
I can fuck whatever and I can eat whatever. Yeah, hedonism. You're indulging the pleasures.
Alan Rock Waterman is I keep saying his name wrong. Is that
Rock
it's funny
Waterman.
to see him. Yeah, Rock Waterman. It's funny to see him in there because he's definitely not down to Balenciaga. He's based.
When you really start to pull at the threads of reality and zoom out, you see that the world is just a systematic system of interconnected systems. True liberation is found in the dismantling of these systems. Thus, the emergence of Balenciaga is manifest.
I love how Tanner looks just as ridiculous as he always does.
Balenciaga is nonpartisan and non-political, just like Mormon Stories podcast.
That one's a dig. Like I wonder, like when he saw it, what he thought of that one, because I mean, I think that one's got to be like apparent and aware that it's poking fun at that.
Yeah, how come Nuance though didn't make the cut?
There was no women's on it. Maybe there'll be a women's.
Oh my
version.
God!
You probably
He's
can't do a
sexist.
women's version
He did it
because
on
it'd be
purpose.
called
He did
it'd
on
be called
purpose, didn't
sexist.
you? No, he should be called sexist for not including any women.
Yeah, but if he includes them and they come out all sexy from the AI,
it won't pass the Bechdel test.
Oh yeah, never mind. How come none of the women are AI are talking to the other women AI about men AI?
Yeah, it'd be funny if it doesn't, like they're all there and not all of them have lines, but the women still don't pass the Bechdel test because they just talk about their boyfriends. Let's see here. He can't touch it. Like he can't touch it. You can't make sexy AI images of him. You can't touch it. He's not going to be able to.
My new faith and spiritual paradigm is far superior to Mormonism. It's based on empathy, compassion, and the inherent moral superiority of Balenciaga.
I'm always super excited when I can interview.
Super.
Oh, God.
That was a funny one. It was worth it just for the DeLynn segment. Does crack me up. I wonder how many of them have seen it. I wonder what what's his name from Zelf thinks about his systemic systems of systemic systems, which I'm pretty sure he's said exactly that before. You didn't even have to take that from AI. I'm pretty sure he's said it. Should we look at the larger meme that got in trouble? I don't know. Jonathan's going to want to do a podcast on the meme. That Curious George meme.
Oh.
Should we look at it or should we?
How come you didn't criticize right-wing stuff, huh? Like, yeah, you know what? That's what we don't get enough of on Mormon Stories podcast community is criticisms of right-wing ideologies. Nobody's ever criticizing conservatives.
We have all those ex-Mormon neo-Nazis that, you know, I deconstructed the church and I started wondering if it's true and I didn't like the patriarchy and I became a Nazi.
Although they're doing a really fun thing right now in a couple of the ex-Mormon Facebook groups where they're posting glow-up pictures of themselves.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
It's like depressing because it's always like
it's this
happy.
It's always this.
That's the new picture. The old picture is like this happy married family with kids
them at the temple. The old pictures of them at the temple. The new ones, the guy with blue hair streaming on terminally online, and the gal in back dancing with her new boyfriend.
Hey, sweetie, have fun streaming. I want to go fuck a real man.
I was looking at like the guy she's with back there is a dude named Sneeko, and he's in an open relationship. And he's had a couple very, very embarrassing things online where he didn't like that somebody else was hitting on his wife right in front of him. But the guy says, "But I thought you guys were into this."
That's what I want to do. I want to meet some of these people and just like blatantly hit on their wife. And just see them get mad and be like, "You can't get mad."
Jonathan says, intentionally did not include women. If you have an AI model trained on women, you open yourself to accusations that you would use it inappropriately. Yep, you can't do it.
Sounds like you just don't like women and don't want them to be included.
No, I don't understand. How does
Go off,
Jonathan
though.
not know that we live in a patriarchy and he's protected from doing whatever he wants? Haven't you heard of rape culture? We live in a society.
You're
where
allowed
you
to
just
do
rape.
it in our culture.
You're allowed to do it in our culture.
Yeah.
Haven't you heard?
See
Lindsay
this?
Henson Park has told us.
Our culture demeans these women into doing these things. This woman here, the woman who's in the Miller Lite ad, this is her. That's her, and stuff that she's appeared in before, but now she's shaming us all in the Miller Lite ad because we've had too much fun as the patriarchy.
Is Jonathan like the he's like the ex-Mormon Keanu Reeves? Like Keanu Reeves is always doing that hover hand thing.
Yeah,
so
he can't.
He's
do
like
it. He just knows.
uncancelable.
He just knows he's got to. Well, I mean, I've been that in my life. I mean, I've been lucky in some senses that I've spent so many years in HR and all that stuff. Because I've been nothing but at work, just nothing but proper, just not even jokes. Like Flip can attest to it. Like a lot of people think I'm a different human being at work than I am at in the regular world. Reminders: we get into hotter weather. She's not dressed like a slut. You just think like a rapist.
That's gotta there's gotta be a line somewhere, right? Like
no,
because if I'm walking down the street and I see a woman like with just pasties covering her nipples and wearing a thong with like a tattoo that says "fuck my face" on her face, like. Can I then be like, whoa, that's or am I a rapist? That like stop thinking like a rapist. Like I kind of just don't want my kid around that, you know?
She thinks about rapists a lot. That's what's going on there.
I didn't see this one. Is this real? Link is a trans and non-binary icon, and we're here for it.
Don't they just declare that? I mean,
no, they declared that, but yeah, the cross thing. I actually looked it up in a
That's
game.
real.
It's in a Japanese version.
It has to be a Japanese version because I heard that all the stuff like the original Castlevanias, they had to remove all the cross stuff for the United States versions, but they had all sorts of Christian imagery in the original Castlevania games, and they had to take that.
But yeah, it's canon. Link is a Christian, and I am so here for it.
What makes you think you can't be a Christian and trans, Jared?
Well, you can't. That's my reasoning.
No.
I don't need a reason. Okay, fuck off. I'm tired of trying to prove obvious shit. That's all this is. When you're arguing with woke people as often as I am, all you're doing is constantly trying to prove the obvious. They'll be like, how can you tell? You can't tell just by looking at someone what their chromosomes are. Yes, I can.
It's so hard to prove the obvious.
Almost certainly can.
I didn't think we'd have to spend so much time on that in life, and we do.
I know. And somebody asked me why I think I can do that. I was like, what do you mean? Why do I think because I'm an animal. And animals can tell which animals to fuck. To reproduce. I'm not saying I'm not going to fuck every one of them, but that's what I'm built for.
Yeah. Well, you're predetermined for it. You can't even help it. Oh my goodness! Should I send the? We got to look at the one of how people are spending their time in the new game, and I think it's totally true.
Oh yeah.
Link, you have to find me and save the kingdom. This construct of this giant robot with a thing going on, and that's what the game is like. There's all this stuff that you can construct in the game. And all that stuff.
So have you?
Okay, so that's something somebody created. That wasn't.
That was real. That was somebody
real.
created that in the game.
But that's
and there's
not,
all
the
this.
Game didn't present that thing.
What's amazing about the game, the new thing that they have going, that's going to have people going wild for years, is that you can weld everything together in the game. You can pick up anything and weld it to another thing with your magic hand. And so all these guys in the game, and in actually really creative ways so far, you're supposed to really think outside the box to figure out how to get places. And that's one of the things I've always loved that Nintendo does better than other games is like they don't ship to you the way you're supposed to beat something. They give you all these methods, and any one of the methods you figure out is what works.
Yeah.
And they're so much better at that sort of creativity. But of course, most of the guys nowadays are sitting here just creating wacky crazy.
My favorite thing on the game so far has been like on the old game, every time you'd find one of those fucking Korok things.
Oh yeah.
Like it always felt so good. You'd pick up a rock and then it pops out and it's like, hey, I'm here. And you just drop the rock and it lands on its head and he goes, ugh. And because I hate those things. But on this game really stepped up the Korok abuse, right? Because you can like pick them up and drag them behind your horse. One of the first things I did was weld one to the front of a mine cart and just ram him rocket speed into the side of I hate those things.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people. I know the completionists hate them too because that's the hardest part of the game is going and finding every damn one of those. But I never bothered to find every damn one of them.
Yeah, I'm not a completionist on most games.
So we got permission to talk about the Curious George one. I didn't know if we did because I thought Jonathan was gonna maybe do a stream about what happened with it, but we will pull it up. That's the first version. The final version. Here we go. So this was this meme was made by Jonathan, and then it was posted on the Mormon Stories. If you abandon your tradition after careful study of its problems, be careful adopting a new one without careful study of its problems. And then it shows postmodern. It's Curious George checking out all these things, and it's postmodernism, looking at a book with a deformed face on it, activism, and it's it down in the sewer, secular spirituality, and it's a pentagram. Curious George doing pentagram stuff, critical theory, and you have don't the dead open inside. Well, that's obviously the
don't open dead inside.
That's there's zombies behind the door, right?
Yeah.
Intersectional feminism, and it's the alien thing. That one fits perfectly with that one. Queer theory, and it's from the movie The Fly, the thing that
transporter
transports or transitions himself into the fly with. Scientism, and it's
Ouija board.
A Ouija board there, and socialism. And it's just reading the Mao's red book, I'm guessing. And that was posted in there, and of course you got a lot of the typical gnashing of teeth. The wailing and the gnashing of the teeth came out, and they pointed out one of the first things they pointed out was like, why is it all left-wing things? And our first question was, how are you admitting these are all obvious left-wing things? I thought this here was academic activism. I thought that's just like a general goodness.
It's just
secular spirituality. I thought that's just like reality, right? Critical theory, that doesn't exist, you anti-Semite. But if it does exist, it's just good stuff that came out of colleges, and it's good. Intersectional feminism, that's totally academic, real academic.
What do you have against women having rights?
Queer theory is more academic. Academics.
Yeah, that's science. It's actually, there's decades of science.
Scientism, that's the one that, well, I mean, I don't know why the left is getting, it's the right's bad with science, but scientism. And then socialism, well, that's just what, John Larson just says is the good version of the communisms. And I don't know, that one you could say is left-wing, right? That one for sure is left-wing. The rest of these, what? We're just talking truth, man. Truth. Well, wait, so you guys are admitting these are left-wing things. And they are what dominate the humanities in the university right now. And if you listen to Dan McClellan, it seems to dominate divinity school too. That's what comes out of the pie hole.
His whole thing on the univocality of the Bible, I'm like, hold on a second. In order to be a Christian, don't you have to believe in somewhat of a univocality of the Bible, like that it's all God's word? Like, isn't that their thing? Because like when he says it's not just one idea, I'm like, well, yeah, I believe that, but I don't believe in the Bible. So And neither do you, Dan McClellan.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point, is that he just doesn't believe that. He can maybe like, what? It's just the point, as that one girl from TikTok said, is that he's just dissecting it in a secular way, and he doesn't believe that. He believes it was just written by a bunch of different people over time, which is maybe probably true, but it's stop pretending like you're holding on to some faith tradition somewhere when that's what you're going around preaching to everybody, which is fine that you don't believe or whatever, but stop pretending like you do, or wearing the mask for what? Politics? Like, why do you keep wearing the mask? Why are you wearing the mask, Dan McClellan? Take off the mask. So people flipped out about this. Let's see.
Well, he's already a known transphobe.
Mao, the scariest of all. That's a good point. Yeah, the red book, man. Maybe it's just scary enough on its own, just looking at it. But I don't know.
Orwell was one of the scariest things ever. 1984.
Yeah.
The last chapter, or the last third, I should say, the last act of that book is terrifying.
I heard that's a sign that you're an extremist, is that you read 1984.
Yeah, you actually got marked. You got marked by some alphabet agency for being an extremist for wanting to read it or something like that. People got very, very mad and said, notice that all of this is just right-wing. Well, none of the right-wing things are in there. And, you know, I made a comment or two, because I usually don't try to get overly involved in these, but I just said, yeah, all those neo-Nazi ex-Mormons. You know, you go, I went over to neo-Nazi ex-Mormon Reddit, and it turned out that was just a workout page or something like that. But most of what the people said, and you know, they got really, I mean, I guess he got some people talking and thinking like, wait a minute, maybe there's something about these I've got to stop and think about a little bit more, or something like that. Maybe a little bit, but you got called a transphobe and what, problematic, toxic, all that sorts of stuff. And I don't know, but those are things that I would wish that all the ex-Mormons stopped and thought about a wee bit harder. Like, why does it seem automatic that you fall into one of these things coming out? Well, because it's academics. I mean, I think that's why I always say that I had a falling out with academics, because I was funneled into this crap thinking that I was going into a world of truthy truth, and it weren't. Word of the Twitter so simple. Word of the Twitter so simple.
People were pretty fucking mad about that. That was
Jonathan,
what I sent,
he was talking about thinking about maybe doing a Peter Boghossian style thing of asking, like, you know, on a grid where people stand, and if they're into it or not. I'm about to get to flip. Rico Nasty, is that the one?
Yeah, just
okay, hold on. And maybe if you can ask the people, like, where do you stand on these things? Do you agree or disagree with them? How far do you agree or disagree? That street epistemology stuff, and what would make you just move the next step over? What could possibly make you go that direction? And I don't know, maybe if I was on the side of completely disagreeing with it, maybe I'd move the other direction if it was all just ever a lens instead of a religion. You know, I think even some of those things as lenses can be interesting. I use postmodernism as a lens sometimes. Any one of them can be interesting as a lens, but they become a religion. Who's this?
I don't even know, but it's the latest NPR thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Rico Nasty and her fans know what it's like to be judged for being themselves. For anyone who feels like an outsider, Nasty Mob is a space to forget that.
Like, what kind of fucking Degrassi Junior High shit is this?
That's like somewhere this week.
This is NPR. NPR.
The New York Times like made this announcement. It was on Twitter and everything. Like, the band Sum 41 has broken up. And I was like, Sum 41? Like,
I didn't even know they were still together.
And this is on the New York Times. Like, what? Oh man!
But just like this idea, like, oh my gosh, nobody has ever stood out in rock and roll before. No, and nobody ever got made fun of for how they dressed. No, not until now. Not until NPR ran a story about it.
Remember when punks were proud of being punks instead of trying to normalize being a punk?
Yeah. We need it to be a. Oh yeah, I gotta do. Oh, did you guys watch the Dove soap ad?
No.
I think that's what this meme was referring to. That. So there was a Dove soap ad that came out that we support women's body image health in video gaming. You didn't see this at all?
No.
Pull it up.
Oh, that I saw that. I sent it. I think.
No, the ad that came with an ad.
Oh,
Like that was making a joke about
no, I didn't see.
I'll pull it
the
up.
video? Okay, I did. I know what you're talking about.
Funny.
I shall pull it up. Where did it go? Here it is.
It's been quite interesting seeing these various different companies just make some, I don't know, but video and check this out. Let's see what's
This
going
is Dove
on with
soap.
women in games
Dove,
and
Dove
how they
soap.
feel, or Dove, let's say.
Yay. I wonder if the copyright.
This is an ad for soap?
Yeah. Watch this. How did that face thing work, man?
Jesus, you got a face
Okay,
corset?
so let me get this straight.
There's a face corset. I didn't realize there was a face corset on there. How did that? I didn't.
What the?
Where's the face corset? Like,
Let's
oh,
see,
it's a mat. It's a helmet on.
As soon as she, but as soon as she takes it off, the rest of her fat face flops up.
Okay, so let me get this straight. This character looking like this is supposed to be overly sexualized. Like,
why can't I just be fat?
and
Well,
I
'cause
guess
you're a
this
superhero.
person, the character.
Half of me wonders if like they didn't get like Anita Sarkeesian consulting on this, and it was 7 years ago, and it just took them this long to make the ad.
If Anita Sarkeesian was doing it, which would this character be white?
Yeah,
itself is taking off makeup and shape.
I'm sure she's a Muslim.
Oh yeah, that is true. But it's always about self-inserts that they say. That does look like an Anita Sarkeesian self-insert. She likes what she looks
Who
like
is this
better.
supposed to
than-
inspire? I guess the women in games, huh? So
Oh,
now
she's
you're gonna
go
go
out
fight as a
without
fat
me.
ass.
And I think that's what
Okay,
your
74%
meme
of girls feel underrepresented. I'm not the target audience.
Jesus.
Says 74%.
Woke's ending. Like this can't sustain itself. It can't.
Wait, where's the wheelchair one?
Girls feel underrepresented. In
No,
games.
see, there's
a wheel. I thought you were joking.
No, I'm not. I saw a picture of there's 4 of them together. It's not just this one. If that's the full ad, that's not the only thing that they did. There's 4 different women.
I'm not sure where they got that information, but apparently that's some data that they've collected. They partnered with Unreal Engine and Women in Games to change this. So I guess being represented as being a fat person now completing the level. Okay, this is.
Was there a thing that like back in the day of Grand Theft Auto, you could just make yourself fat by eating? One of those get like the San Andreas.
Yeah. San Andreas, you could get fatter.
All right, let's make.
But there's all sorts of fat people in video games too. Maybe just not.
Yeah,
enough
but nobody.
fat
So
women.
it's a fantasy, right? Like nobody wants to fantasize
But
about being fat.
But the Mario's fat. You know,
Yeah,
our
I mean,
first,
he's like
our first
cartoony.
icon ever is chubby.
Yeah. No, you're right. I just like there's never been a fat Super Saiyan. It's like, nobody wants that. Like nobody's Super Saiyan exists for like little kids to scream in the mirror to try to achieve it and to things they want to. No little kid wants to be a slob.
Well, I don't think there was ever anything in Seamus's look that didn't say that she couldn't be a bit chubby under there too. I mean, she's in a bunch of gear and all that stuff. But
You're talking about Samus?
Samus, yeah, I say
from Metroid.
Metroid.
I don't know. Once you see her,
One of the first characters ever, is she?
Be real is what it says here. I know you guys can't see it, and it was, I guess I don't know who this person is, but I'm guessing
self-insert. It really was a self-insert. Oh my god!
That's why she wasn't black.
Everybody always makes fun, like in the world of comics and all that stuff, that when those writers become writers, they just do self-inserts. They put themselves in the.
They learn more about Cynthia's real story. So I guess I don't know if she's a developer or whatever she is, but she put herself in this Unreal Engine.
How come her little avatar doesn't also have half of its gut tucked into it?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I'm looking at it, and it's still the avatar's like way hotter than she. Her
avatar's cleaning it up.
It has a
for
waist
sure.
and hips and defined.
That's phobic, man.
And she's bad built, and the character that she's obviously, I guess, based off of her is also bad built and out of shape. And apparently,
yeah, that's it. Well, zippity pippity. So I thought this thing that you knew that was referring to that there's a comic of research shows 69% of female gamers feel underrepresented in video games and wish more characters looked like real women. It shows this gal climbing with like the link bar of
stamina bar.
The stamina bar.
There's nothing there.
I would play that. I would play the shit out of that. That'd be sweet, man.
In that zombie apocalypse game that I play, one of the options is, because at the beginning you can give your character advantages or disadvantages, and there's a role-playing game style in economy there, whatever. And one of the things you can do is be overweight.
Yeah.
And because and it makes it harder for you to climb over fences or run from zombies and all kinds of stuff. And so yeah. And people online have done that, like, okay, I'm gonna see how long I can survive as a fat guy.
They used to have a Donut Drake mod in Uncharted, but they took it out because they didn't want to make fun of fat people.
I would
want to play as a fat person. Like if some fat person was doing all the stuff, I think it'd be fun to play that way.
Oh, it was so fucking funny. I remember getting Donut Drake because it's not just that they actually textured him to look like an obese person. It's not even that he looked like a circle or anything like that.
It's an Uncharted.
And I think they changed his voice a little bit too and makes like that. And so it's funny as fuck watching him do all these acrobatic parkour moves.
Here we go.
I didn't know they took it out. That's lame.
Where'd it go?
Oh, there's one of the Dove people has Down syndrome, and then there's
That's Donut Drake.
Yeah. He's like legitimately obese.
That's awesome.
It's so fucking funny.
I'd play the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I would play Fat Link. Marty, did you guys review the morality discussion? Are you talking about Bill Real? We did a little bit. We didn't go heavy into anything because it's kind of just too much to run over. Yeah, they took it out when they did the PS4
that's a bummer. I was going to
remaster.
play through that again.
Why? Man, I want to play. I do want to play all the games as a fat person.
I know.
That'd be sweet, man.
No, so I'm looking at it in this Dove thing. There's 4 different heroes. There's the fat lady that you saw. There's like I think an albino woman and a woman in a wheelchair and then a woman with Down syndrome.
Well, will you have the picture? Did you send it?
First
off, have you guys seen, like, they gave a picture of what the ideal man and woman looks like?
Oh, yeah, and this is Kevin.
It's Kevin.
Kevin's the ideal man. Congrats, buddy.
Little righty there, Kevin.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty good though.
So I don't have a picture, but there's a video.
Look at that. That's totally Kevin. That's Kevin. You don't have a picture of him all together?
Kevin and Brooke.
Marty,
I sent in the chat the video, the ad. It has a thumbnail on it.
Where in the chat on StreamYard?
No, in the
on
Facebook.
Facebooks.
Yeah.
What was Flips? What take of Flips did you like, Marty? It's just on the thumbnail.
Yeah. So if you look,
I gotta find it somewhere in there because I can't. How do I make the thumbnail show up?
I know. I'm not sure. God, it's
oh, there it is. It's towards the end. Present, share screen, Fubook. That's the wrong Fubook. Where'd it go? To Fubook. Cancel. Is that Kevin commenting?
Yeah.
He's been hitting the juice. Kevin's got the ideal look, man. That's always been true. All the ladies love cool Kevin. That doesn't LL cool. Why is it doing this?
What's it doing?
It's grouping up Facebook into multiple things, so I can't.
Lame.
Hold on, I'll do it.
I can put it in the StreamYard chat.
In the StreamYard chat, and I opened up that, and there we go. Here it comes. Present, share screen. What is that called? It's called the Dove. There it is. Wheelchair girl. Link. I'm guessing that link is
That's the Down syndrome one.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't see her very well, but it's wheelchair, albino, Down syndrome, and fat.
Oh my gosh. What? Wait, what's the one with the bat?
I think she's albino.
Oh, yes.
She's clearly like.
Aren't there
African descent,
albino characters? There's albino characters.
They're always bad guys.
I think Kratos is kind of albino. Well, I guess that's just
Kratos is
ash on
covered
his
in
body.
ash. But he's played by a black man, so that's problematic, right?
Yeah.
You gotta stick within your race.
Doesn't make any sense, man. Oh, goodness gracious. What other little things done happened? Oh, come on. I'm having such a hard time here. There was a couple other things I had marked here. We'll quick shoot them. We had Miller Lite. We talked about that. Did you see Elon Musk's speech to that guy when the guy was trying to catch him out on
the George Soros stuff?
Yeah. Elon Musk said George Soros is a hateful, terrible person.
Yeah.
Goes, well, that's just what I believe. And goes, well, don't you worry about what your investors will say.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
See that.
It was kind of a I'll say what I believe. Consequences be damned kind of thing.
Daniel Perry got arrested. You know who that is? That is the guy who held the person in the train.
Oh yeah.
And that's not looking good. I bet you he does get convicted. Like one of the other problems with these years is like not only do we have a completely biased alphabet agency, completely biased news, completely biased Hollywood, but especially in places like New York, there is no fair court system anymore. Even the thing that Trump got busted for with that lady who was lying about the rape stuff, so obvious she's lying about that stuff. What was her name?
And her story, isn't her story even that they like flirted and talked about modeling lingerie together and then went together into a dressing room and started trying to have sex with her?
Yeah.
So like even if it happened, like wait, is you flirted with a guy and you got handsy?
One of the things is they say beyond that is it makes no sense, especially at that time. That place was just overcrowded with people in New York City. It's just ludicrous, the idea that could happen. But then there's a whole other thing that it perfectly mimics a story from it was like CSI Miami or something, or like CSI New York.
Really?
There's the exact story. The exact story is mimicked from it was a Law and Order show, and Here it is. Waukesha. She stole the story from a Law and Order SVU. Yep, the exact story. I think happens from there. And not only that, that jury says he's not guilty of the rape, but he is guilty and must pay. Like, it didn't make any sense. But that's how the Southern, like, if you see anything come out of that Southern District of New York, you might as well consider it Soviet court cases, man. And this guy's in New York, the guy who got arrested for that train thing. Like, he's probably going to go to jail for 15 years. For real. Like, those, you do not get fair trials in that part of the world at the moment.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I love how they're calling it vigilantism too. And that's, oh my God, that Surf's argument was so fucking brain dead.
When he was debating Tim Pool, what did he say exactly?
He was saying that, like, it doesn't matter that, like, he restrained the guy, and the outcome, no matter his intention, was that the guy died. And therefore, and like, what do you mean? Is he justified if a guy's fighting him? Is he justified in punching him in the face? And then if he punches him in the face and the guy falls back and hits his head and dies, is he guilty of murder then?
Yeah.
He wasn't the only one holding him either. Like, there was like 3 guys doing it, and they're only going after the one white guy.
It was really dumb. The Surf thing. I did see that clip you're talking about.
That whole thing was mind-blowingly stupid.
Well, that thing where he completely just cut himself off. That's not the right expression. But
The abortion one?
about the abortion thing.
Holy shit! He's like, no, she can't be meth because then she'd be killing a kid.
Yeah, you can't smoke meth when you're pregnant. That's killing a kid.
What?
Well, you don't say.
Why doesn't nothing make sense? How about that Utah mom that was arrested for her husband's murder a year ago and a month ago?
Yeah.
She was at Good Things Utah, promoted a children's book on grief. Yeah, I forgot. I haven't covered that here because I did do that on Mormon News Roundup. But that guy went to the same mission I did.
I have seen all the. Why am I not surprised they were Mormon? Like, there's any connection?
I think.
Well, and then I saw the other side saying, "Ha ha! Look what ex-Mormons do! Ha ha ha!"
She mixed him an alcoholic drink. They clearly weren't very Mormon.
Yeah.
Like, so it's funny to me that we would be saying that, well, clearly, like, even though she's not following the dictates of Mormonism and the Word of Wisdom, she's definitely following the dictates of Mormonism to murder her husband.
Moscow Mule, that's my drink. How do I not believe you there, Marty? Do you really drink that?
Moscow Mules are great.
I thought Marty didn't.
I totally believe that Marty would drink Moscow.
I'm gonna judge. I'm gonna judge. Just kidding.
Mules.
What's is Moscow Mule dumb? What is it?
It's ginger beer and lime and vodka.
Why am I thinking there's milk in that? Like the stuff from
that's a White Russian.
Yeah, you're thinking White Russian.
I'm thinking of Clockwork Orange stuff. Vitty well. Yeah, that story, I guess, with the detail of it, that the family knew that that's what that lady was trying to do to him, and she signed off on like some major mansion right after the guy died, and then the sister supposedly told her right afterwards that the guy had already changed all of his life insurance policies into his sister's name because he was worried about it, and they got into like a fight about it, and all that happened just on the day around the death. And then after that, she releases the book about Daddy's in heaven and gets asked on Good Things Utah. It's like, you don't think Good Things Utah could like maybe vet that a little bit? But,
to me, it feels kind of like Lori Vallow. You know, it's an interesting story, but I don't feel like the Mormonism part adds much to it because, like, she's clearly a psychopath. Like she's not well in the head, and she would have been not well in the head no matter what system of belief she was born into.
It's just like Chris said, that, like, you know, they were already pointing, this is what ex-Mormonism does. Oh, this is what Mormonism does. Like, no, like, I don't know how you can get to be so old and not realize that you can't point at these types of situations and say, aha, it's their cultural religious background that led to this. Like, no, it happens in all communities.
There's so much that I keep bringing up, like the Pareto distribution, which is the famous one Peterson talks about, that you can't put on capitalism all the money going to the 1%. That's just a part of nature. It's like a Thomas Sowell cosmic problem.
Yeah.
But there's a million different types of Pareto things. There's a million things that you can't put on the system, the thing that's happening. I saw on TikTok some people saying, wow, it sure does look like there's a lot of Mormon murders. And they pulled up like every single murder that was tangentially related to Mormonism.
There's a lot of murders.
Years. Like Hawking, what was that Hawkins guy? Hastings.
Well,
how long ago is that? 20 years?
Nobody answers me. I've got a couple Facebook friends that keep trying to spout off this bullshit about how poisonous Mormonism is, and they're just talking about Lori Vallow, or they're talking about this lady, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Is there evidence to suggest that Mormons are overrepresented in spousal murder? Because that would be an interesting thing to talk about if you found that data. I don't believe it exists.
It's one of the things that drives me crazy. I mean, I guess it's whatever our standpoint is just this. There's that line in Under the Banner of Heaven that they've tried to make a meme, which is this religion breeds dangerous men. And the whole point of it is to just kind of continue to deconstruct it from this level of making it seem cringy because it's violent or some sort of thing like that. But almost all of it is just an exaggeration for things that just exist in all crowds. Like another Pareto distribution is like the exaggeration of what child molestations go on at the places.
Yeah.
Like, is it a higher level in this religious or the scouting thing than it is in anywhere where you have adults around children? It's the same percentage, if not a lower percentage.
Yeah, teachers are always suspiciously absent from that
Yeah.
when we talk about it.
You're not going to create a world. You're not going to go create a thing that if it doesn't get big enough where you don't have that problem, like a Pareto problem. And everybody going around trying to use these things that are cosmic problems and pinning it on one thing or another when it's really individual situations. Charles drinks coffee, more coffee, and that is my drinking choice too. I don't know. Ginger beer. What is ginger beer? Is ginger beer actually beer, or is that saying like root beer?
It's like root beer, but it's just soda.
Very
like
gingery. It's
very
very gingery ginger soda.
So that is what goes in a Moscow Mule.
Yeah. Ice and Moscow Mule typically it's ginger beer, vodka, lime juice, and crushed ice in a copper mug.
This is a new rule. Reasonable force is now a crime. If they don't like you, all their real crimes will not be enforced. A narco-tyranny. Yeah, a narco-tyranny comes from Sam Francis, who coined it, and it's something that is definitely happening and part of the idea and the situation, and it's part of everything we've been through that even stems all the way up to the Durham Report, is that everything will be tolerated. Like the difference in toleration is the message. Like everything will be tolerated from the left. And, even just a honest person defending themselves will be criminalized, and Antifa throwing fire bombs at a courthouse for 115 days. That's nothing. Great, big nothing. I'm so sensitive to caffeine. One coffee in the morning keeps me up past midnight. Man, I miss that. Those are the days. Marty, you're gonna join Marty's. Yeah, check out Marty's stuff. Check out her channel too on Mormon discussion. She's under the banner of Bill Real. That Mormon discussions breeds dangerous Martys.
If you think Mormonism breeds dangerous men, like I don't know, grow up in it for a second, and then you'll realize that no, if anything, it breeds docile pussies.
Yeah, that's the ultimate point that I brought up too. I think I brought that up on Roundup too. That I think on average it makes very docile men. If you want to see Marty kind of grill Bill. Marty did a pretty good job grilling the person who I guess that's her boss. So if it's a podcasting boss, but yeah, she put his toes to the fire a bit on an episode or 2 episodes with Bill, and I think Bill's actually becoming I appreciate that he's having those discussions. These are things I've wanted to happen.
Yeah,
I actually think you can tease out and maybe at some point get all these people to stop and think like, hey, maybe some of these transhumanist ideas are a bit wackadoo and we should curb off all these and maybe think of some of the Chesterton's fence stuff we had going on there. Is the next Bill Real Jacob Hansen video still on live for tomorrow morning? Yes, it is. But I think they're flipping the seats. Like tomorrow it'll be Jacob on the hot seat, which is what I've always wanted from stuff. I really appreciate it. One person, the ex-Mormon, got put on the hot seat for a little bit. Now the Mormon gets put on the hot seat, and maybe through all that, everybody defending their ideas in the Socratic method way, we find some truth. We get down to the bottom of the truth. Marty's stuff is great. Yeah, Marty's got, you check her out. She interviewed Lady Maga, a bunch of other people, and it's good stuff. She is the inside of the real mainstream ex-Mormon stuff. She actually is the one who's always been there, being real and legit and asking testing questions. Marty, however you spell it, what does this say here? Bill might be loosening up. I don't know if he is or not, but I think if you get kind of caught out on some of the contradictions of your ideas enough, it has to start happening a bit. I don't know.
Bill likes being an intellectual, and if you can appeal to his intellectualness to be like a true intellectual would engage in these conversations and not be afraid of them, then he'll do it. I think that's my suspicion.
You have a bunch in the queue. Who else you got coming on? Give us some advertising.
I still haven't watched the one with Forrest.
I saw that one. That was a good one. I don't know if Bill's actually loosened up or not, but I think Jacob and Bill talking is a good thing. It really is, and I once again commend Bill for doing it. Cardin was even saying on Midnight Mormons, he's saying, why didn't he dare to get up and why was he so afraid of at that point in time of debating? Because he refused to get on the debate stage with RFM at that point. And I don't know, there was such like a time frame for a while that you just could not platform or entertain discussing anything with anyone. Anthony and Dusty and Eric Johnson are coming on Marty's channel. I don't know them. Anthony Johnson?
No,
or Anthony Miller?
It's probably Anthony Miller.
Is that who that is, Marty? Anthony Miller? Charlie, what you doing? Miller. Okay, yeah, she is talking with Anthony Miller. All right. Anthony's been, I know Anthony's like real impressed with the Dan McClellan world. I've seen him praising the Dan McClellans and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, he posted that on like everything today.
Well, that's just regurgitating some Dan McClellanisms of just talking about everything is negotiated, power is negotiated, and it's a postmodern take. And I saw Jim Bennett going and repeating all that stuff too. And a lot of these guys, like, they stumble across the postmodernism. It's like, hey, I found a new shiny toy. And they're going to start telling it to all us when we've been baked into stuff for a couple of years. Dusty from Saints of the Scripted, and they came to the podcast. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. That is muy good. Anything else? What else is going on? We pooping out. We're coming up on a 2-hour mark.
No, I'm good. I'm good
What's
for
that?
whatever.
I've been real quiet just because I'm real tired and
flips of the sicka.
You seem in pain.
Not really in pain. I'm just I don't know.
You do more meme review? Do we have?
Let's talk about it, buddy. What's up? Brene Brown has taught me that being vulnerable is the best thing you could ever do.
I got some stuff. Should we watch? Do you want to see that roast battle between the trans guy and the handicap guy? Nah, that's probably too.
Oh yes.
Too hot take. You want to watch that?
That's probably too hot.
I love that.
Is it too hot?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I haven't seen that in a while.
I was thinking though about because I've been watching. I got up to season. I'm into season 6 of Sopranos.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And because I remember, like, when in one of these episodes, we were talking about when TV shows do dream sequences.
Yeah.
And how it's usually lame. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that Sopranos does it well, and like at that time I hadn't seen any, but now I've seen a bunch, and I think about how they really do them well. And then I even kind of thought of a joke, which is that, like, because I agree with you that a lot of times when TV shows do dream sequences, it's really bad, like in Star Trek. But conversely, sometimes it's really good, like in Star Trek.
I'll tell you, one of the places that drives me the craziest was in that new series of Hannibal Lecter. When they first started that, I was like, well, how are they going to drag this into 3 seasons? And then I realized, dream sequences. Endless dream sequences.
See, I'm glad I didn't ever get into that show then.
But The Sopranos is good because, like, there's that one, not to give spoilers, but it's way too late for spoilers for Sopranos. There's one where it's dawning on him that he's got to realize that he knows Big Pussy is a rat, and he has always known. He knows it in his gut, and he has a dream. He gets sick. He gets food poisoning. He gets sick, and it's really just coming to the realization of what he already knows. Yeah. And then some of the other later dream sequences, I guess it would be a spoiler, but some of that stuff in those dream sequences give you the answer pretty directly of what happens at the end. That's so controversial.
Yeah.
Okay, look at this. Tell me what you think of this.
Hello, I'm Carmina. I'm Sabrina, and this is our story time. Ooh. We both served missions, LDS missions, which last 18 months. We leave when we're 19. So my
us on Mormon stories
was to serve in Australia. My
no.
mission was in Brazil. Because of COVID, we both got sent to California. We don't get to choose where we go on our missions. So we both went to California, and we met in the airport on the way because she's from Maryland and I'm from Virginia. She's like, oh, I'm Sister Logan. I'm from Maryland. And I was like, oh, you're cool. I want to be your friend. I thought she was cool. I had a gay vibe from her because I have a gaydar. I have a really good gaydar. I didn't know I was gay. The only way these missionaries can communicate in the same mission is through letters. And so I would write her a letter, and that's how we got to know each other. So anyways, she went home in September. She was done with her mission. And then I was done with my mission in February of 2021. And so I text her because I'm back in Virginia and she's in Maryland. And I'm like, hey, let's meet up. And so we did. We got boba. We met in DC and we talked for 12 hours. I was like, telling her everything. I'm like, hey,
Here's my hot take. By 20 years from now, both of these two will marry Harrington and be married to some guy with a kid.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I've decided that every single time I see I do the same thing when women come out as bi as I do when men come out as polyamorous. It's a woman says, guess what? I'm bi. I'm like, so you're coming out as a woman.
Yeah.
And when a man says, I'm coming out as polyamorous, oh, you're coming out as a man. You're revealing this. It's this craziest thing. I would like to fuck 2 women at once. It's the weirdest thing. I mean,
like I was predetermined to be that way, man.
Yeah, it's my sexual orientation. I like to bang a lot of women.
Yeah,
this is true. The hook of Sopranos was that a mob boss goes to therapy, so the dream sequences. Yeah, but they also didn't overkill him. They really don't overkill him.
Yeah, no, they do a good job with them.
But the Sopranos didn't, because one of the reasons like shows like Hannibal have to use the dream sequences is because they're also like slotted for 22 episodes on some like channel. Like Sopranos doesn't have that. Like they just tell the story. Whereas the thing that like you got to fill 22 episodes, they just load it up with dream sequences.
That's the problem with trying to add more content into already existing IPs. Is like sequels have their problems, like just inherently. Prequels have a lot of problems but the fucking midquel is like just full of problems because everything that happened before, everything that happens after, and there's such a finite amount of space in between the two things.
So they add way too much there, and then they don't add enough to prequels because there's stuff where I think of like Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh,
and
they
you imagine all this history with them, like so much history. And I've always said that it was the same thing with Magneto and Professor X. You go, oh my gosh, like this isn't just history. This is like 10 years, and then they spent 3 years away from each other. Then they had a reunion for 5 years. Then they didn't see each other for 4 years. And then they got back together on this other issue for 5 years. And then they ran across each other 10 years. And now we're 30 years past all that.
I know you get into crazy amount of history. You get into first class and you think, oh, that's their history and that was their falling apart. No, they had
They
like,
spent a
each
summer
other
together.
falling apart.
They spent 2 weeks of a summer together.
I know.
And they try to like gloss it over because Professor X can like touch you and then have your whole history like seen or something. But it's just like, come on, like, you need to do 40 episodes, 40 movies of them as a prequel, not one summer together hanging out. And that should have been true of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader too. Like they were best as friends, good on the same side fighters for 10 movies before the slight change started happening. That's what it should be. That's the problem with prequels. This is a Christian girl, but she sniffs out Dan McClellan pretty well. If it plays, you gonna play? Why is that not playing?
We're updating our privacy things. That's not it.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
Well, that's dumb.
You gotta load it up again. No, it's not gonna play.
Does she hate Data or something?
She points out that his worldview doesn't make any sense unless he's fully atheist. Which
oh yeah, for sure. No,
believe
I watched it. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah. I don't know why that's not playing. I guess we gotta go to memes. Anyway, but Dan McClellan commented on it. He says, "I can't go after creators with such few followers."
That's a great little scapegoat there, buddy.
Yeah.
What's there to say to her?
Well, it's not gonna work.
The fuck.
Anyway, let's see if something else works. I had going. No. We'll go all the way back to the Durham Report stuff. I don't know if anybody ever looked up the actual supposed Russian interference. Because one of the things that I did was read the whole freaking Mueller report. And one of the ways they tried to salvage that afterwards is that it said that the Russians still did try to meddle in the election. And you go and look it up, and you can actually look up the memes that supposedly were the election meddling. And there's only like 10, 15 different memes, and they're memes like this. Like this is the meme. It's Bernie Sanders. You can color your own Bernie hero. There is a new coloring book calling Buff Bernie, a coloring book for Berniacs. It's full of very attractive doodles of Bernie Sanders and muscle poses. The author of the book said that she wanted people to stop taking the whole thing too serious. The coloring is something to suit for people to see more. That's the stuff that they spend money.
So is that like is Russian government that funded that? Because
they don't even have proof of that. They just know it was Russian farms.
See, but
that
even if it was, I don't know that lefties at this specific moment in time really want to go into criticizing governments for mobilizing their institutions to interfere with elections. I probably don't want to touch that right now.
It was so ridiculous. And then, like, you look at every single one of those memes and you go, there is no way these things influenced anybody. And there's no way that there weren't the equivalent amount of memes being made out of England or France or wherever. It's just so stupid. But that's one of the things they held on to. Well, it still did say that there was a meddling from Russia in there. It says it. Like, oh my lordy. You want to see? Oh, that's a bad meme. Some of these memes I can't share, man. Oh goodness. Did you ever see? Did you see Trump's deposition when he said that the lawyer that was interrogating him wasn't his type?
No.
Did you know? Did you ever get a look at what that person looked like?
No, I didn't hear any about this.
So in the deposition that happened with that rape case, he started saying, I don't know, she wasn't my type. I wasn't really into her, but you're not my type either. I'm frankly not that into you. You're not very attractive to me. He says to her, like, right in the deposition, because he knew that he was already screwed anyway. But check this out. This was the lawyer. They have a video of Trump saying that. I don't know if I'm gonna pull it fast enough. I'm gonna have to find that. Frankly, I don't find you very attractive either. That's what he said right in the deposition.
Jesus.
He was throwing it. He knew that he was screwed. He knew he wasn't going to win. Well, he said that in the town hall. He said, I couldn't win that. There was nothing I could do about that.
I saw my favorite Trump meme for a long time, and it was from last year. I didn't notice it. Like, I don't see these tweets anymore because they're not tweets anymore. They're on Truth Social, but this one made me laugh my ass off.
You sent it?
Yeah, I sent it in the chat.
Coming right up. Present. Share screen window. Chris Christie had a Roy Rogers at 11 p.m. in the evening trying to console. That's Donald Trump. Is that really Chris Christie too?
I don't think it's really Chris.
I think it probably is. That looks like it might be Chris Christie.
Built like it. What an unfortunate way to distribute fat on your body.
That's what he looks like in general. Sometimes I don't know.
It's funny as hell because I almost feel bad because he pointed out in an interview one time, like, I could be talking about 9/11 and somebody would just call me fat and laugh. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh man. I think that is him. Oh, look, here it is. There's that, just for proof. Here's that girl and Dan McClellan responding to her. Because all she said is like, Dan McClellan says anything has to have to be true is that it has to be agreed upon by a group of people, negotiated and agreed upon by multiple people. So it's perfectly good and fine if you go and do slavery or kill people if it's agreed upon. It's the postmodern thing. And here he is. It's problematic, but I'm not going to make a video calling out an account this small. Sure, Betty.
Dope.
I don't know if that we have
Jim Bennett's like my new favorite because with Dan McClellan, I feel like he's evil, and the problem is you have to think when you're talking about him.
Yeah,
like he's clearly this subversive force, wolf in wolf's clothing, basically. But Jim Bennett is just great because I can turn my brain off. And I just laugh at him. He's just the best lolcow since Larson, probably.
Well, so you guys probably didn't see in the Guatemax video, but I have this a couple posts of things that he said.
I just think of Abe Simpson yelling at the sky. I don't understand it.
Well, he said this right here. Present share screen. Yay. Oh, he's not evil. Come on, Marty. He is too evil. Join us. Google gobble, one of us. Google gobble, one of us. Are you saying everyone who believes the statements in the Family Proclamation are as true as Scripture is a Desnat? Jim Bennett, Desnat or Desnat Jason actually are usually yes.
Usually yes.
Damn, so that's insane on its own. I hadn't realized that he blurred out Desnat. Like he edited it like he said a fucking swear word.
Desnat. Good people up in the top left. Me. Desnat adjacent in the purple right there. He's ridiculous.
Okay, if you don't think Dan McClellan is evil, Marty, name a person that you think is evil.
Here's I
don't think you believe people are evil ever, so that's my point, Lex Friedman.
They get into all that stuff like Jim Bennett saying that everybody's got to behave properly, and people who are believers can only basically cite scriptures to others. They can't be internet world people at all. But then, of course, you have Dan McClellan right here, who they're just in love with Dan McClellan. They just think he's the genius of geniuses because you see Anthony and Jim just regurgitating his crap left and right now because they think his structuralism is the hot take to own all things because you are the controller of language. Here he is, ladies. The Bible says everything is about my dick. And where are they popping up on that saying, hey, this isn't of the Lord, this isn't proper, of all that sort of stuff. They just amazing, this is so amazing. And
he's gotten a lot snarkier since he amicably parted ways with the church.
Yeah, and he of course, like later in that one, I don't have it right there, but he goes into justifying why he can say that because he is a linguist and he knows when people are talking about stuff, they are ultimately referring to their dicks. Like every single thing he does, he justifies because he is a linguist. That's why forever I talked about it. I referred people to that movie Arrival. Watch the movie Arrival and notice that movie is the wet dream fantasy of humanity's people. The whole entire thing is the lady says all of reality is constructed and goes down to language. And then the language person goes and discovers the language of the new aliens. And that new language gives them the new ways to advance into the future. And
wait, is that the Amy Adams one?
Yeah.
Isn't their language time or some shit like that?
The language, finding the words, it's almost kind of like abracadabra type stuff, which a bunch of that abracadabra stuff comes from the same ideas. But they really do think I pulled it up before. There's an argument right in the very beginning where the science guy was arguing with the language guy, and the science guy was saying science is the most truthful truth, and she goes, no, language is the most truthful truth because how could you even talk science if you don't have the language to? There's a whole argument right at the beginning of the movie, but then by the end of it, because the language lady figured out the languages, aliens already knew that the languages were the answers to all things, but Dan really is the person who feels he has the right to control and answer all things because he's got the bestest grasp on the words. He is the ultimate grasper of words and the one who will describe them for us and tell us what meanings are wrong meanings and what meaning. He solved Derrida. There's an answer to Derrida, and it's Dan McClellan. He's the one who can tell you what. He's the expert to tell you what meaning means meaning and what meaning doesn't mean meaning. Jim Bennett and John DeLynn mud wrestling contest.
Jim Bennett would win by default because he would just immediately start crying unfair, help me please, this man is attacking me, and then John DeLynn would just apologize for attacking him from a position of privilege.
Marty says Dan reminds me of my Northwest white liberal friends.
Your evil friends.
A lot of Marvel fans. There you go. Yeah. I'm about running out of memes and stuff even too. Here's a quote from Christopher Hitchens. We'll just read it up because Carden said yesterday Christopher Hitchens was a midwit.
That's a hot take there, Carden.
Beware the irrational, however seductive. Shun the transcendent and all who invite you to subordinate to annihilate yourself. Distrust compassion. Prefer dignity for yourself and others. Don't be afraid to be thought arrogant or selfish. Picture all experts as if they were mammals. Never be a spectator of unfairness or stupidity. Seek out argument and disputation for their own sake. The grave will supply plenty of time for silence. Suspect your own motives and all excuses. Do not live for others any more than you would expect others to live for you. I think that's almost a pretty darn good Hitch quote right there.
That's a great quote.
Picture all experts as if they were mammals, especially when they're telling you they're the experts of language, the science, math experts of language. Oh, this meme I shared on the lobsters. This is a good meme. Just a rando good meme. Hold on. Present. Share screen.
Yeah.
Sodom and Lot, and it's a pillar of salt. Anyway, any other stuff? How's Zelda coming for you, Jared?
Pretty good. How far are you?
I barely almost to the first temple time. I've only had like 2 hours total to play it. But I think
so
like
you're still in the sky.
I'm still in the sky. I didn't even know there was a getting past the sky. And
have you not watched any previews?
No, I've been avoiding watching because part of it is like I don't want to see the tricky way people get past stuff. I have to figure it out myself. And,
yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in that where like, oh, I figured it out myself. Like I slept on it and then I'm like, wait a minute, and I thought of a way to do something. Let's see here. Oh man, I wish this one was working.
No, it's great so far. I gotta say,
this is coming up tomorrow.
I'll miss Zelda games.
You'll miss them?
I'm saying I'll miss how they were because I like Breath of the Wild. I like Tears of the Kingdom. They don't feel like Zelda as much, and maybe it's just the next.
Which Zelda games do you miss? Do you like the Wii level, or do you miss like the top down? Because I think they'll still release those 2D ones.
So I like kind of all of them, but mostly it's Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess. Those are my favorites, and I just don't feel like we'll ever get another one of those.
Probably not. This is tomorrow, I think. Why people believe irrational things. Today the 18th, 17th, 18th?
It's 18th today, yeah.
It's tomorrow. Will they go into
what time is it? I gotta pay
things?
for super chats and shit, man. I'm
10 a.m. That's going on right in the middle of the Bill Real and the Jacob Hansons, man.
Yeah.
You got the clashing of the rationals and the irrationals all over the place happening
Clash
right
in
in the
the
middle of
rash.
the day. Clash in the rash. Ooh, what is that? What the hell? Moral relativism memes dialectics. Sure. I think that's about it. I'm gassing out on stuff.
Alrighty.
And now I'm thinking of the Zeldas.
Oh yeah, no. If you got time to walk a dog and play Zelda, you should do that.
Yeah. Well, I already walked the dog today. I had a little bit of time. I couldn't go to my office because it was getting painted on the inside. So. Zelda time. Dan reminds me of my Northwell. Oh, that's a repeat. So.
Can I? So I want to have a contest to see next time who can find the dumbest lyrics of all time, because one of the dumbest lyrics comes from that song, "Closing Time," where he says, "Time for you to go home to the places you will be from." And
what?
That's seriously what he says.
Dumb.
Like, that is fucking dumb. So just think of dumbest lyrics ever. We can.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Let's see. Jonathan says, "I'm afraid their call for question means they won't take questions for viewers."
Yeah.
Which is a general authority playbook classic. True indeed. Marty says, "Yes, super chat. Why do those that leave religion find a new irrational belief system?" With
I got to do something we got to do something that will be like, it won't be so obvious that Maven immediately shuts it down, but it'll spurn Shermer to talk about trans stuff. Because
maybe just something like, "What's been on your mind on Twitter lately?" Michael?
I would so love for John DeLynn to have to choose between enraging his entire audience, like by letting Shermer talk about shit, and telling Michael Shermer to shut the fuck up and stop being problematic.
Well, I wonder, because like Shermer's got to know, like
I bet you John is going to tell him that he does not want to go into that.
Yeah,
he's going to tell him he doesn't want to go into that and ask that he doesn't. I bet you.
Yeah.
Just like I'm more than positive anytime Dan goes on anything, he asks the people to not ask him if he still believes. I'm sure that happens. I'm sure there's a pre-meeting about that. So it's gonna be a bummer. I think what you need to gear up for is being bummed out about what's not covered on the Michael Shermer episodes.
Yeah.
And Michael Shermer, he does obsess about QAnon and Trump, and I bet you they'll perfectly willingly dive all the way into that. Like,
sure.
And which would be fine by me if then he also hit on the queer theory stuff, but it's going to be avoided.
We are super non-political.
There's plenty of stuff that Michael Shermer's gone into that would set DeLynne's hair on fire, but it's all going to be dodged. QAnon will be covered. These are my predictions. They'll talk about religion because Shermer's been on about religion since forever. It's one of it's his first bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point or another, he will get a green light to swerve into the QAnon stuff, and then anything else that's will be dodged. It will not be hit. That is my predictions for that. Put some bets on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to
10
hear.
a.m.
As a QAnon believer, I'll be interested to hear how he could possibly disprove it.
I don't know. Pretty wild. They won't mention a thing about the Durham Report either when they just go off into the QAnon and January 6th stuff.
I've been told I'm a QAnon.
Shermer, that's what we were saying. Marty, we posted on their channel a couple times that Shermer, and especially on Twitter lately, he's been railing hard on trans stuff. And Shermer's not, Shermer's not bad for going after QAnon stuff because he's not somebody who will pull his punches at something else irrational.
Yeah.
Like it's just they're gonna avoid that subject tomorrow. And yes, Shermer has been as canceled as Bogosian, who I saw. If you watch the Anthony Magnabosco episodes, you saw John Dolin go, "Well, I've heard about this Peter Bogosian. He's the person who came up with street epistemology, and I've heard it's just not nice." And
did he really? I didn't see
yes, he did. Go back to the Anthony Magnabosco episodes, although there's like 4 of them for 95 hours. But yeah, one of the things he said is like, because street epistemology came from Bogosian. It's one of the things that Jonathan's talking about, trying to come up with a version of doing that across the internet, because Bogosian does it live with people. And yeah, they bring up Bogosian, and Jonathan says, "Well, I just don't think he's very nice. I've heard he hurts people's feelings."
How terrible.
Yep, and Michael Shermer and Bogosian might as well be simpatico across the board. I mean, I can't think of a thing that those two would disagree on hard. Not a single thing. I can't think of one. Like, they are basically the exact same politics, the exact. And but now Shermer's on, so it's just that Bogosian wrote some more books about the bad subject, but Michael Shermer could easily write one of those books if he just decided to cover that subject, because he's said that stuff plainly, and he's gone directly at Scientific American on Twitter for them saying the stuff about trans science and all that stuff and being ridiculous about it. Shermer didn't pull punches. He went right after all of it, and he could easily write a book about that stuff, thereby putting him on the same evil plane as Peter Bogosian. But
Shermer isn't dirty for talking to the wrong people. I mean, he is, but they also, when Atheism Plus destroyed the new atheism movement, Shermer was accused of sexual misconduct, and they tried to Me Too him, but it fell apart. It didn't stick with him.
He was accused of straight up rape. It was almost kind of like the elevator gate stuff, except the woman went back to the room with him and then said it was a raping. And that followed him around for a few years, but he survived it.
Yeah.
But that's happened to almost every single one of them. Lawrence Krauss has a rape allegation. And
This is why I will never sympathize.
Neil deGrasse Tyson has 2.
Shit. Yeah. People shit on what's his fate, Mike Pence, for having his rule that he doesn't meet with women alone. Oh, you just think women would fuck you? Well, absolutely they would. Are you kidding me? He's
Bogosian. Oh, well, speaking of that, the punter from the Bills. Did you see all that stuff that it came out that Actual Justice Warrior covered it again this morning, but it's been some of the things. That woman who got the punter for the Bills completely fired for a lie of a rape allegation, and he wasn't even there for it. And then they had her whole entire night on video that she was basically going around begging for reals to everybody. It's all on video. And then he wasn't even there, and he got fired from his punting job a couple years ago for it.
I think people don't understand that that's why we have the concept of innocent until proven guilty. Now, obviously, I guess your employer can fire you if they don't want to employ you anymore, but it feels like
Yeah, you'd think.
It feels like even if it's pretty fucking damning, you got to say we can't fire him yet until he's proven guilty.
Yeah. And Bogosian, he said he started bringing his kids to those atheist conferences back in the day. He said, I'm not risking anything. I'm not going anywhere without my kids. My kids are coming with me. And,
yeah, that's like good on you, Mike Pence, for having that rule, because it demonstrates a couple of things. One, it demonstrates like foresight into thinking that shit could be used against me if I don't have a witness with me at all times. But it also, like, one of the things they shat on him for was like, oh, you're just so fucking weak that you would have sex with another woman that's not your wife. And I'm like, yes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the kind of person that you admire, the person who admits his shortcomings, the man who admits that given the right circumstances, I would likely fall and cheat on my wife. And I don't ever want to be in that circumstance. So I'm going to make up a rule that doesn't allow me to see if I'm too weak. Like, why would you try fate? There's this great line that Faramir says in Lord of the Rings, where it's this awesome contrast between Boromir and Faramir, where Frodo offers the ring to Faramir and he says, I don't want it. I wouldn't pick it up even if I saw it on a highway and it were the only way to save my life. I'm wise enough to know that there are some things from which a man must run. Like, I love that fucking quote because like you're acknowledging weakness in yourself. So don't shit on Mike Pence for acknowledging weakness.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like maybe some of the reasons I'm able to speak up or talk about these sorts of things without worry is because I'm so positive. Nobody has anything on me. And I only think that happened out of luck because strangely, the HR that I fell into that really was a product of coming out of that shitty, postmodern school that was already basically Islamic at that time frame. Like since I became a missionary, I've lived in missionary world because I just got funneled right through things where you can't say a thing or dare to say a thing in this world when you're in the middle of it, or you will get canceled. Hell, everything. Don't even joke. And I've followed that for all these years, at least in the working world, not outside of it. But I'm sure there's more than plenty of people who it's not even that bad, but in the modern world of Silicon Valley's extracurricular laws that are way beyond what the law actually is, where people might have said like some dirty joke at work, or even might have asked somebody out at work, and now they're walking around thinking that there's some sort of somebody's got something on me that I could be fired on for tomorrow because I've done something horrible, terrible, or something like that. And because I know the law, I know like in a lot of those different situations that they don't have to worry about that. But if they don't know that, they might still be just walking around thinking they have an anvil over their head. And just out of the lucky Amish world that I came through, I know for a fact that I've never fallen into any of that sort of stuff where it could absolutely be something where you start going like, I don't know if I talked right in front of those people. Can I be in trouble for this? Can I get fired for this? Can I get who knows what? And I'm just 100% positive I've never been in that situation because it's been 100% missionary my whole adult working life. And it's stupid. It's stupid that it's that way. It's stupid that everybody's so sensitive and we have to, but it's what we're in,
Yeah.
Anyway,
life.
Yeah,
right.
well, at least we can come here and run some shit, and that's about it. And the only thing I want to do later is get very, very, very pious about.
It feels like my favorite part of any video game is when you can like sit in a coffee house and sip coffee in a video game. Or sit at a bar and drink a beer with strangers. And it's funny because like as time went on and video games got more and more intricate and interactive, I kept having this thought of, man, I can do this thing on a video game that I can do in real life. And then just the other day when we were in Utah, I like to go to this coffee shop every morning when I'm there because my brother-in-law, we stay at his house. They don't have a coffee maker. And so I go to this coffee shop in the morning. And I made myself go inside instead of going through the drive-through because I was like, no, I need to stop doing everything that I can to limit human interaction. That's what all of these innovations are for. So I walk into the coffee shop and I'm like, oh, this is a shop I've never been into. And I remember the first time I played a game where you could go into a shop and I thought it was amazing. And now here I am all these years later thinking, wow, I can do things in real life that I could do in video games.
You've gone all the way through the metaverse.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, fuck. I have to smash all of my game consoles.
We got to reject it all. That's definitely what the future's going towards. I saw this whole thing about Bill Gates is pushing towards having everything, all like the Word, Excel, all that sorts of stuff through a metaverse type situation in the near future. And yeah, and Noel Harari talking about his fears of AI and everything we're going to fall into. It's some of that stuff's looking kind of spooky. I shared you that video with you that showed like all the online gaming's basically screwed now because there's no way to tell if people are cheating. And yeah, we all gotta go touch grass.
Yep.
That's a pretty interesting poster you got up there, Jay. What is your poster back there?
Are you talking about on the couch or on the wall? What are you talking about?
All right, then. I'll go to hell.
That's like my favorite passage from Huck Finn.
Nice.
It's this great part where he got this letter that he's gonna send to let everybody know that he's got Jim, the escaped slave, with him, and gonna turn him in because that's the good thing to do. And if he doesn't do it, he'll go to hell. And he finally just has this moral breakthrough and he tears up the lake and he says, all right, then I'll go to hell. It's just a great moment where he thinks that he's being a really immoral person, but he's learning about morality and that you can't own a person. And I would rather go to hell than do this bad thing.
I need to read that again. It's been a long time.
It's really good. Audible has.
I need to read it too.
Audible has a great. Elijah Wood does a reading of it on Audible, and it's really, really good. He does the accents and everything really well.
Can a white person say the N-word on Audible?
Oh, he does a lot.
Uh-oh.
Jeez. He's brave.
I know he should apologize.
All right.
Touch grass. All righty. We'll see you.
All right, y'all. Fun stuff.
See you later.